Chapter 1. Start the round as a dragon. Rumble. Plash. August had just begun, and rain came pouring on the ground. The rain was so heavy that the raindrops could bounce off the floor. In the quiet school compound, 1 or 2 students were sprinting towards the dormitory under their umbrellas. Yet, a student was sitting outside of a pavilion at the side of the lake as rain fell on him without any mercy. Within seconds, he was all drenched from the rain. "Hey, I'm poor." The young man stared at his reflection in the lake with a pale face. He felt a sense of bitterness when his reflection was distorted by the falling rain. Why is God so unfair? A mocking expression surfaced on the young man's face. His name was Wuxia. When school reopened, he would be a second-year student at the University of Rivertown. Since a young age, he stayed with his younger sister and grandmother. But his grandmother had passed away a few years ago. Wuxia and his younger sister, Xiaoyu, were left to depend on one another. Both of them were smart students. Wuxia had enrolled in the renowned University of Rivertown with excellent grades, while his sister had gotten into the same school this year. Besides having an adorable younger sister, Wuxia also had a like-minded female friend. Even though neither of them spelled out their relationship, they were as close as a couple. Hence, Wuxia was satisfied with his life despite having to spend all his spare time working part-time just to earn a living for his younger sister and himself. The girl whom Wuxia shared an intimate relationship with had been working part-time with him all along. However, she had left him for a man with a luxury car yesterday. In a cold voice she said to him, "I'm sick of such a poor and miserable life. I want a brand new life now." Wuxia could still remember the scorning and disdainful sneer drawn at the lips of the luxury car guy when he left with the girl in his arms. Reality and money. Heh. Wuxia showed a scornful expression as he stared blankly at the lake in front of him. Getting drenched from the rain was nothing to him. Buzz. Wuxia dug out his phone when he heard the buzzing sound. A faint smile surfaced on his face when he saw the message sent by his younger sister. "Hi everyone, I'm Louis Koo. And I'm Nick Chung. Tanwan is a brand new game that you have never tried before. Just 3 minutes and you will love this game as much as I do." Drops of rain fell on the screen. As he unlocked his phone, a pop-out advertisement was playing loudly. Lousy phone. Wuxia's expression was full of bitterness. The shoddy phone which he got as a gift for topping up his prepaid card often had pop-out advertisements. He closed out of it. After he cleared the advertisement away, another one popped out again. Start the round as a dragon. At the later stages you can roam the universe. Are you bullying me too? Wuxia grasped his phone with force. Rumble. A clap of thunder was heard suddenly as his hands went numb. What's going on? Wuxia felt pins and needles in his body as his expression turned apprehensive. Splash. A silvery white thunderbolt landed in his hand without any warning. Wuxia's body went stiff and plunged into the lake. Start the round as a dragon. At the later stages you can roam the universe. The advertisement continued to play on his worn-out phone. With a stiff body, Wuxia realized that the screen was giving off lights. An image of a divine dragon appeared on his phone. It was letting out a silent bellow before it sprang out from the phone. Yes, the divine dragon sprang out unbelievably from the phone. Wuxia saw the palm-sized divine dragon went right into his head. Start the round as a dragon. He suddenly heard a voice in his mind. Soon after, he was shocked to see the image flashed out in his mind. Name Wuxia. Race. Human with ability to transform into a dragon. Level 1. Dragon energy, 1/1000. Superpower. Dominate the marine animals, ability to rule any marine animal that is lower than your own level. Devour any form of living, for extraction of dragon energy. Art of cultivation. Divine dragon transformation. What is happening? What are all these things in my head? Just as Wuxia was astonished about what he saw in his mind, he realized he could actually breathe in the water. I can breathe and talk in the water. This, with his wide-opened eyes, Wuxia felt more comfortable in the water as compared to living on the land. What does transform into a dragon means? Does that mean I can turn into a dragon? Wang Xian stared at the image in his head and murmured in shock. Start the round as a dragon. You can become a dragon. A voice suddenly echoed in his mind. Wang Xian was dumbfounded as he said unbelievably, I can become a dragon. A dragon. Voila! At this moment, Wang Xian realized that his body seemed to undergo a massive transformation. He moved and shook his body slightly. Wang Xiang felt that he had turned into a long creature. He lowered his head and realized he had 4 claws. On each of the claws there were 9 toes. The claws were similar to eagle claws while the palms were like those of tigers. Fish scales were all over his body. I'm really a dragon. Wang Xian stared with his eyes wide. He had horns that looked like a deer's, a head like a camel's and a pair of rabbit-like eyes. Besides that, his neck moved like a snake, and his stomach was like a clamshell, with fish-like scales, eagle claws, tiger palms and a pair of ox's ears. This is the divine dragon of the Chinese legends. Wang Xian slightly moved his body, and he could easily swim 7 to 8 meters away. A divine dragon. Wang Xian was excited. But I'm only baby-sized now. As a fish swam past him, a message appeared in his head. Little Sharpbelly. Level 0. Extractable Dragon Energy 0. 001. Wang Xian hesitated before he moved and swam at a fast speed with his mouth open. Devour. Before the little Sharpbelly could react, it was swallowed by Wang Xian. Dragon energy was increased by 0.001. A notification showed up in his head, bringing a halt to his movement. Since I can become a dragon, can I change back to my human form again? Asked Wang Xian. Yes. The voice in his head sounded off. What's the use of dragon energy? Dragon energy can be used to level up and cultivate your superpower. It can also be used to upgrade marine animals. Cultivate superpower? What do you mean by upgrading the marine animals? Asked Wang Xian immediately. The divine dragons are one of the most formidable living beings in the universe. Their power comes from their dragon energy, as the energy can enhance their bodies and cultivate their superpower. The divine dragon transformation is all about the use of the dragon energy. Divine dragon transformation? Wang Xian thought of the skill that he possessed. Divine dragon transformation. At this time, an imposing and mighty voice echoed in his mind. Soon after, divine dragons were circling around within his head, among which there was Inferno Divine Dragon with its red-hot body in flame, Frosty Divine Dragon that was covered with thick frost, and Azure Dragon which possessed unlimited vitality. There was also a dragon with a charcoal-like body that was burning in black flame, Black Dragon, and one that can sweep up a windstorm with its wings, Wind Dragon. A myriad of divine dragons circled and eventually formed 3 great and majestic words. Divine Dragon Transformation. Chapter 2. Divine Dragon Transformation. So this is Divine Dragon Transformation? So powerful. Wang Xian was feeling the various types of divine dragon, and their aura which seemed to be looking down on the rest of the world. His eyes were filled with astonishment. So this is how dragon strength is used. After some time, Wang Xian exhaled gradually and a tinge of excitement flashed past his eyes. Art of Cultivation. Divine Dragon Transformation was the cultivation arts of the divine dragon. Moreover, it was also the strongest cultivation art. The methods of gathering and using dragon strength were within the divine dragon transformation. Dragon strength allowed him to possess Inferno superpower, Frosty superpower, Wind superpower and various other types of superpowers. Based on what was explained in the Divine Dragon Transformation, dragon strength was the highest tier energy. It could be transformed into lower tier energy. Lower tier energies refer to elements like metal, wood, water, fire and others. Dragon strength could even strengthen one's body. Another strong ability of dragon strength was to upgrade marine animals. Every divine dragon had their own dragon palace with crawfish soldiers and crab generals. Dragon strength could gift ordinary marine animals the ability to evolve and gain great strength. Haha, I would never have imagined that I would have such an incredible encounter. Wang Xian showed excitement on his face. After turning into the divine dragon, the illness in his body was automatically eradicated. Now that I have become a divine dragon, I'll be able to gather the clouds and summon rain with a wave of my hand after I get stronger. I'll become the strongest existence in the entire world and build the strongest dragon palace. Wang Xian wriggled his own body and was filled with lofty ambitions. Once the divine dragon's body got stronger, my self-body would get stronger too. Let's start absorbing some dragon strength first. Wang Xian thought in his heart. There are two methods to absorb dragon strength. One of them was to devour other living things to gather dragon strength. The other method would be to gather dragon strength, based on the description of the divine dragon transformation. Let's start by devouring the surrounding living things. Wang Xian's eyes lit up. There was a significant amount of fish in the lake beside the pavilion. As the lake was only 2 to 3 meters deep, there weren't any large fish. Therefore, he wasn't afraid of encountering strong living things. Wang Xian wriggled his body and headed directly towards the lake. There's a small grass carp over there. Wang Xian saw a grass carp that was similar in size to him. Moving his body, he swam directly towards it. Grass carp, level 0. Extractable dragon energy 0.05. Devour. Wang Xian swam over, opened his mouth and devoured the grass carp that was of similar size to him. He obtained 0.05 dragon energy. Let's continue. Wang Zheng felt extremely excited as he moved around and started devouring the surrounding living things frantically. Grass carp, lobsters and mudfish. These fish were all level 0. Even carps that weighed 3 to 4 jin were level 0. Wang Xian's devour was extremely strong. Even if the fish was twice the size of him, the fish would shrink and directly enter his belly as he devoured one with each bite. Subsequently, he cornered all the fish to an area before devouring them in a frenzy. Heavy rain was pouring constantly and 700 to 800 fish gathered in the middle of the lake in the school. A golden-colored body was devouring them rapidly. Growl. A weak and soft dragon roar propagated. The growl was very soft and was even softer than the sounds of the rain. However, this growl was filled with endless awe. I have gotten only 20 dragon energy after devouring all the fish in the lake. That's really little. After half an hour, the golden-colored Wang Xian swam to the edge of the lake. He looked around him and found that there was no one. Looking at his clothes at the edge of the lake, a naked Wang Xian surfaced without much thought. His eyes flashed nobleness as a dragon while his body beamed golden light. The naked body looked extremely strong and was full of muscles. I better put on my clothes quickly and get out of here. Wang Xian wasn't in the mood to admire the great changes to his body. He quickly scooped up his clothes from the lake and put them on rapidly. He also scooped up his phone at the same time and ran towards the dormitory. Bam! Wang Xian closed the door to his dormitory room with his body fully drenched. A tinge of a smile surfaced on his face. My strength seems to be several times that of the past. My body also feels stronger than before. Wang Xian clenched his fists tightly. Subsequently, he looked at his wet clothes, took them off and changed into a set of dry clothes. So handsome. Standing in front of the mirror, Wang Xian looked at himself in an almost narcissistic way. It was the summer break and there weren't many people in the entire dormitory building, and he was the only one in his dormitory room. My level is still too low currently. I will have to practice diligently from now onwards to become a strong divine dragon as quickly as possible. Wang Xian clenched his fists tightly and took a look at his elemental attributes. Name Wang Xian. Race. Human, ability to transform into a dragon. Level 1. Dragon energy 20/1000. Superpower. Dominate the marine animals, ability to rule any marine animals that are lower than your own level. Devour any form of living, for extraction of dragon energy. Art of cultivation. Divine dragon transformation. It seems that 20 dragon energy isn't of much use either. I'll have to reach level 2 as quickly as possible. Wang Xian thought to himself. Buzz buzz. At this moment, Wang Xian suddenly heard his phone ringing. What the? The phone is still working after falling into the lake? Wang Xian was surprised. He walked over immediately, picked up his phone and saw a message from his sister. Unlocking the phone, there wasn't any rubbish advertisement this time. Brother, I'm done with my work today, and am accompanying Xiaomi to go shopping. I earned 200 today from tutoring. Brother, let me buy you a shirt. Brother, why aren't you replying to my message? And why aren't the calls getting through? Oh, brother, what are you doing? Are you still working? Please reply to me immediately when you receive my messages. Seeing 7 or 8 messages from his own sister, a smile appeared on Wang Xian's face. He immediately replied, your brother is busy now. Go shopping and buy whatever you want. Your brother has enough money for your school fees, and you won't have to worry about the living expenses in the future. I still have a sister who will be attending the University of Rivertown with me. Let's see if I can give her a surprise before she arrives. Wang Xian's heart softened at the thought of his adorable sister. Now that I can transform into a divine dragon, what are some ways for me to earn money? Should I head to the ocean and catch some fish? Wang Xian thought to himself and recalled about that girl. His eyes were filled with determination as he mumbled to himself, I must become a rich man in the future. Only when I have strength and money can I get what I want. He had been working on temporary jobs before, and could earn approximately $100 a day. For this summer vacation, he found a rather good job and earned $4,000 in 20 days. Currently, he had over $8,000 in his hands. This was sufficient for his and his sister's school fees but wasn't enough to cover their living expenses. His sister was also sensible enough to start working during the summer vacation. She found a job as a home tutor back in their home village and could be considered as being well paid. I will definitely not allow my sister to suffer after she enters university. I have to turn her into a little princess. Wang Xian made up his mind to not allow his sister to become like him in the past where he had to work part-time while studying. Growl. I'm so hungry. This is weird considering that I had devoured so many fish. At this moment Wang Xian felt pangs of hunger. He took his umbrella and headed out directly. Chapter 3 Arowanas that cost millions. During the summer break, the entire school was plunged into quietness as not many students stayed back in school. Hence, the school canteen was not opened. Wang Xian would usually have his meals outside of school. The University of Rivertown, unlike other universities, was not situated in the desolate suburbs. The university was situated within Rivertown College Town, which had 3 universities and 3 vocational schools in total. The area surrounding the University of Rivertown was extremely robust with an old street. Even though it was known as the Old Street, everything was new inside. It was a street that was full of buildings that were imitations from the ancient days. The Old Street was the most robust street within Rivertown as it gathered all the students from the 6 schools. With a few high-class residential areas surrounding it, many people were there even though it was summer break. However, there was not much of a crowd on the street as it was raining today. Wang Xian looked at the restaurants around him. Let's have something good today. Previously, he was so thrifty that every meal would not cost him more than $15. Most of the time, he would settle his meals with instant noodles. Even though Wang Xian was as broke as usual, he thought of ways to earn money with the golden opportunity he chanced upon today. So he decided to splurge for once. Wang Xian observed the restaurants around him and fixed his gaze on a restaurant that was called First Grade Seafood Restaurant. First Grade Restaurant was the most expensive restaurant on the street. Wang Xian's roommate mentioned that 2 people could spend almost $600 to $700 for a simple meal here. Average spending per person was about $300 to $400, which was a price that he could not afford before. Yet at the same time this restaurant served the most delicious food on this street. This is it. Wang Xian decided to have a sumptuous meal. Welcome. The 2 greeters at the door bowed welcomingly. Sir, you can leave your umbrella here. The waitress on the right said to him with a crisp, clear voice. Sure. Wang Xian nodded. However, he revealed a surprised look on his face when he looked up to the girl. Seeing Wang Xian staring at her, the girl smiled at him politely. Guan Shuqing? She's Guan Shuqing, the hottest girl in our major. Wang Xian recovered from his state of shock. The girl who was greeting him was also a student from the same year as him. A pretty girl who was also among the top few beauties in the school, Guan Shuqing. However, they were not from the same class. Hence, she would not know a nobody like Wang Xian. Guan Shuqing had many admirers courting her in school. One of the most epic incidents was that a rich man's son drove a Ferrari with a full trunk of flowers to woo her, but was rejected. Never would I expect to see Guan Shuqing working as a part-timer during the summer break. Wang Xian was thinking to himself. A pretty girl like her would gain easy access to money if she needed it, just like how she. But probably, this was the reason why many people took a liking to Guan Shuqing. Wang Xian shook his head. He did not care about the gossip in school, so he was unaware of her situation. Sir, how many of you? A waiter walked over and asked. 1. Sir, this way please. The waiter led him into the restaurant. Wang Xian observed the crowd that was dining in the restaurant. The business here was extremely good. After getting himself seated, Wang Xian studied the dishes on the menu. It's indeed the first-grade restaurant. They even have twin abalones that are worth $200,000. Wang Xian stared at the price on the menu. Apart from the high-priced twin abalones, a portion of sashimi cost $700 to $800 and a portion of caviar cost a few $1,000s. On top of that, an Australia lobster of 3 to 5 gene cost $2,000 each. That is simply expensive. Wang Xian was slightly stunned. He ordered a plate of oysters, 2 cheap dishes and a soup which cost him over $200 in total. Sir, please wait for a moment. The dishes will be brought to you in no time. The good-looking waitress said with a sweet smile. Okay. Wang Xian nodded. Good restaurants simply had better service. Even the waitresses are all young and beautiful. Soon the dishes were served to him. Wang Xian began to tuck in his food excitedly. Previously, he had eaten all kinds of artificially flavored instant noodles including stew beef, tomato beef, Sichuan spicy beef, and pickled vegetables. He almost wanted to puke. Today he could finally upgrade his meal. After a hearty meal, Wang Xian burped with satisfaction and took a few sips of tea. The food here is really delicious. When I'm rich in the future, I'll bring my sister here every day. Wang Xian told himself. Excuse me, can I have the bill? Wang Xian called out and foot the bill of over $200. A meal like this was equivalent to more than 1 week's worth of his meals. After footing the bill, he was about to leave with a smiling face. Bang! Ah! When he got up, he heard something shatter and a fearful scream coming from the entrance. Wang Xian wondered for a while, but he was not bothered by it and continued on his way out. When he was at the door, he saw a fish tank that was about 1.8 meters long, 3 fish and some water lying on the floor. A middle-aged man was yelling anxiously, "Get some water now. Hurry. It can't die. It can't die." As he was yelling, he walked to the 3 fish. 2 of them were fine while the remaining one was looking half dead under the broken glass of the tank. "Boss, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't see you just now." A greeter in her uniform who was standing to the side was apologizing to the boss with an ashen face. "Don't apologize to me. You'll be lucky if the arowanas are fine. If anything happens to them, you can't even compensate me even if you sell yourself away." The middle-aged boss was howling at the girl with anger. The girl paled immediately with her eyes red. "Gosh, Mr. Lee, how did this happen? Why are the 3 arowanas on the floor?" At this time, an elder walked over with a surprised look. Mr. Lee looked up at the elder and replied quickly, "Zhao, a young lady accidentally broke the tank when the workers were moving it." "Do these 3 arowanas belong to Old Wang? They're worth $5 to $6 million. Old Wang treated them like precious jewels. How did you borrow the fish from him?" Zhao squatted down and examined the 3 arowanas. At the same time, the employees from the hotel fetched a huge basin of water. Zhao began to examine the condition of the 3 arowanas. The greeter at the side got even paler when she heard the old man. Wang Xian was stunned by the old man's words too. 3 fish for $5 to $6 million. If 3 fish are worth $5 to $6 million, each of them would have cost $1 to $2 million? Wang Xian was aghast in hearing the price. He looked towards the greeter and frowned immediately. Guan Shuqing. Chapter 4. Treating Fish with Dragon Energy. These two fish should be fine, but this one might have some problem. Within the first-grade restaurant, old Zhao frowned as he looked at the half-dead arowana. He touched the body of the arowana and continued, "This red arowana probably had a worse fall when it dropped down. It probably would be." Zhao did not complete his sentence, but it was clear what he was trying to say. This arowana might not survive for long. Mr. Li looked extremely unhappy when he heard the words of Zhao. With a heavy face he said, "I asked old Wang to lend them to me for a few days to change the feng shui of the shop. Who would have expected?" As Mr. Li spoke, he stared at the female greeter. "These are arowanas that are worth several million. To cause their death by dropping them, you are really too careless." "That's right." The greeter probably wasn't paying attention and knocked into one of the few delivery men who was shifting the goods. "That's really careless on her part." At this moment, the customers were gathering around the scene. They were pointing and commenting on that arowanas as they felt sorry for the incident. Some of them were even pointing at Guan Shuqing, as they explained the incident to customers who had just joined the crowd. Guan Shuqing had her head lowered all along and tears were streaming down. She looked extremely pitiful at this moment. "What are you crying for? I'm the one who should be crying. A red arowana that costs 1 to 2 million is killed by you." Mr. Li looked up angrily and walked in front of Guan Shuqing. His finger was pointing angrily at her head as he scolded. Guan Shuqing kept her head down and her body was shaking slightly. She raised her head slightly, revealed an expression that drew sympathy and said, "Mr. Li, I didn't do this on purpose. I really didn't do this on purpose." "Not on purpose? Will it be fine if you just apologize after breaking something that costs 1 to 2 million? Huh? Can you afford to compensate me for it?" The angry Mr. Li grabbed and pulled Guan Shuqing's clothes. He looked rather hideous at this moment. Hey, Mr. At this moment, Wang Xian could no longer stand the sight of Mr. Li, who seemed to be acting irrationally. This lady didn't do this on purpose. Moreover, isn't this arowana still alive? Who is this brat? Mind your own business. If you want to interfere in this, compensate me on behalf of her. Mr. Li turned around immediately and yelled at him after hearing what Wang Xian had said. Wang Xian heard Mr. Li's words and frowned slightly. He took a glance at Guan Shuqing before turning his vision towards the red arowana. Arowana. Level 0. Extractable Dragon Energy 1. I could extract 1 dragon energy from it? No wonder this arowana is worth more than 1 million. Wang Xian thought to himself. At this moment, he recalled the applications of dragon energy. He looked towards Mr. Li and said, "As a man, don't make things difficult for a young lady. I'm confident I can cure the arowana." "You are confident?" Mr. Li looked at him in doubt. "Hey brother, this is a red arowana that is worth 1 million or 2. Are you sure you could cure it?" Old Zhao looked at him with suspicion. "You will know after you see it." Wang Xian didn't elaborate further and walked directly towards the red arowana. This was because he wasn't 100% sure of it either. "If you are not sure, don't touch it," warned Mr. Li as he looked sternly at Wang Xian. "How would you know if you don't give it a try?" replied Wang Xian without looking up. He extended his hand over and touched the fish. Mr. Li had a stern look on him but didn't try to stop him. This teenager in front of him was so confident and might be his only ray of hope. Dragon energy. With just a thought, he injected dragon energy into the body of the arowana, based on how he would upgrade other marine animals. Something magical happened. Wang Xian could fully sense the internal constitution of the arowana, and he realized that he could make upgrades to the arowana through the dragon energy. Truly magical. A surprised look appeared on Wang Xian's face. He discovered that there was a little blood clot within the red arowana, and it was exactly this blood clot that made it lethargic and on the brink of death. Dragon energy nourishment. Golden-colored dragon energy streamed past and the blood clot within the body dissipated. He retracted the dragon energy and realized that he had only exhausted 1 point of dragon energy. Flap flap. At this moment, the previously half-dead red arowana was wriggling its body in the basin. It seemed to be extremely active. Wang Xian revealed a smile on his face as he swung his finger in front of the red arowana. The red arowana moved along with his finger excitedly. Wang Xian put on a front by squeezing the body of the red arowana. Wow! So magical! It has recovered. For real. The arowana looks fine and it seems to have really recovered. The surrounding crowd looked towards Wang Xian with astonishment after seeing the red arowana swimming freely in the water. Old Zhao, who was beside him, made a detailed examination of the red arowana. He gasped with surprise and blurted, "It has really recovered. Of course there's no problem with it. It just had a little blood clot within its body previously. Just a small issue." Wang Xian stood up, cleared the dust off his hands and said to Mr. Li, who was standing by the side, "Come take a look. There's nothing wrong with it now." Mr. Li was stunned for a moment before rushing over. He looked carefully at the red arowana. "Old Zhao, is it really fine?" He looked towards the old man beside him and asked with uncertainty. "It should be fine." Old Zhao nodded his head. "Great, great." Mr. Li finally heaved a sigh of relief and said, "My brother, I'm really grateful for this." "You're welcome. I just hope that Mr. Li will not make things difficult for the young lady." Wang Xian waved his hand. I won't. Thank you, young man. Come in. Have some food before you leave. This is my restaurant." "It's all right. I just had my lunch. Your food are really delicious." Wang Xian shook his head. He looked towards Guan Shuqing, who was standing on one side, and noticed that she was also looking at him. He smiled at her, bade goodbye to Mr. Li and left directly. Guan Shuqing looked at the back view of Wang Xian with gratitude. She hesitated about going up but was halted by the manager beside her. "Arowana, ornamental fish." Wang Xian walked out of first-grade restaurant. He opened his umbrella and sank into deep thought. The 3 arowana that were worth more than 2 million gave him some inspiration. Perhaps I have discovered a way to earn money quickly. The edge of Wang Xian's mouth arched upwards as he carried his umbrella and walked forward. After walking for several hundred meters, his vision turned to a shop to his left. Aquarium shop. An aquarium shop was a place that sold fish bowls and ornamental fish. When Wang Xian walked into the shop, a middle-aged man and 2 young female attendants were standing in the shop. There were no other customers. "Hey, handsome. Are you looking to buy some ornamental fish?" A female attendant smiled and asked this the moment he stepped in. "Just browsing." Wang Xian smiled at her and replied, "All right, feel free to do so." The female attendant didn't seem to be too concerned if he was interested in buying as she replied with a smile. "Grass tank, sea tank, and this is the ornamental fish section." The entire aquarium shop was huge and separated into 3 sections of grass tank, sea tank, and ornamental fish. The grass tank and sea tank sections were mainly about the background setting and had a few fish. As for the ornamental fish section, it was mainly a section that showcased various types of fishes. There were common goldfish, parrotfish, and angelfish. Besides those, there were also the more expensive goldfish and koi carp. Chapter 5. Upgrading with Dragon Energy. The most expensive koi carp is worth $150,000, while the most expensive arowana will cost about $100,000. Wang Xian was observing the ornamental fish in the aquarium store. The 2 most expensive fish cost only about a few $100,000 in this shop. He looked at the fish and realized that most of them were at level 0. Only the arowanas and the koi carps possessed slightly more dragon energy. But those arowanas and the koi carps in the fish tanks were indeed beautiful. The scales on the arowanas were glittering, and they had prominent foreheads with long whiskers. Bright and colorful patterns were all over the bodies of the koi carps. As they swam in the tank, they looked as though they were living pieces of art. "Hey pretty, your arowanas and koi carps are quite expensive." Wang Xian smiled to the salesgirl beside him as he struck up a conversation. "Do you think this is expensive? You must have not seen those koi carps and arowanas that cost millions of dollars. Our price is considered to be at the mid-range," said the salesgirl smilingly. Wang Xian listened to her reply and asked immediately, "Pretty, how do you differentiate a good koi carp and arowana?" Red arowanas are the most valuable breed among the arowanas, while chili red arowanas are the most precious breed among red arowanas. Koi carps are more expensive, in particular from the island countries. Those that are larger in size with bright colors are worth a few $1,000,000. The salesgirl explained to him smilingly. Wang Xian pondered as he nodded. He asked, if I want to buy koi carps and arowanas that cost a few $1,000,000, where can I get them in the river town? Koi carps and arowanas that cost a few $1,000,000? You can check out the flowers and birds market of the ocean town. But a few $1,000,000 of koi carps and arowanas are not common. Moreover, not many people will purchase such expensive ornamental fish. Those that cost a few $100,000 are for sale though. The pretty salesgirl continued. Okay, thank you. Wang Xian nodded with a smile. He pulled out his phone and did a simple search. Just like what the salesgirl said, koi carps and arowanas that cost a few million are uncommon and not easy to sell. But people would buy a few $100,000 ones. Wang Xian ran through his thoughts. He smiled at the salesgirl and left. It's just noon. Let's check out the flowers and birds market. After Wang Xian walked out of the aquarium store, he headed to the flowers and birds market by cab. The flowers and birds market was situated at the East Ocean district of the river town, and it was not far for him. After a 20-minute drive, the car stopped at the entrance of the flowers and birds market. The flowers and birds market of Rivertown was a more substantial market since many wealthy people resided in Rivertown, because it was one of the top second-tier cities. Wang Xian went into the market. He followed the signs and strolled towards the fish viewing area. On the way, he saw a pet shop selling pet dogs for $50,000. A pet dog can be kept for dozens of years, but a koi carp or an arowana can be kept for one's entire life. There's a reason for the hefty price tag on the ornamental fish. The flowers and birds market was well maintained with wide and clean pedestrian roads. There were stores on each side of the road. Due to the rain today, there was not much human traffic. Wang Xian went to the fish viewing area and began to skim through the individual aquarium stores. There will be a 2-day goldfish fair starting tomorrow. It will attract many local people and those from other cities. The exhibition will bring a large amount of human traffic. So let's do a proper cleanup today. The Goldfish Fair? Is it the exhibition jointly organized by the Jinhua Goldfish Farm, Longlian Goldfish Farm, and other large-scale goldfish farms? That's right. The exhibition organized by these goldfish farms will attract many customers. After all, these goldfish farms are among the market's top list. I wonder what kind of goldfish they will be exhibiting tomorrow. Will there be rare goldfish like red-cap brown oranda? Hard to say. But given the resources of those goldfish farms, there might be red-cap brown oranda. When Wang Xian walked into one of the aquarium stores, he overheard the conversation in the shop. He was stupefied for a moment. Goldfish. Goldfish was the most commonly seen ornamental fish breed. Even though they were common, rare breeds could fetch up to hundreds of thousands of dollars. The red-cap brown oranda they mentioned could sell for $300,000 to $400,000. It was known as the most expensive goldfish in the world. If there is a goldfish fair tomorrow, he raised his eyebrows and looked at some of the goldfish in the store with an idea. Give me some goldfish, boss. What kind of goldfish do you want? The goldfish that I have are premier grades, incomparable to those goldfish stalls from the flea markets. The middle-aged store owner chuckled as he spoke after hearing Wang Xian. Okay. Wang Xian nodded and observed the goldfish in his store. He realized that the goldfish here were indeed costly. Some cost $40 to $50 each while others cost a few $100s each. Boss, give me 2 of this, 3 of this and 3 of that. Wang Xian observed the colors on some of the goldfish as he spoke. Sure. For 50, please. Pal, I'll give you a fishbowl for free. The store owner put up a smiling face while speaking to him. Thank you. Wang Xiang smiled and handed the money to the store owner. It's quite expensive, but I would reap profits thousandfold if I succeed. Radiance flickered in Wang Xian's eyes as he lugged 8 goldfish out of the door. He took a cab and headed back to school. On the way, Wang Xian researched a lot of information on goldfish. After doing research for the entire afternoon, he realized that koi carps had the highest value, followed by arowanas. Wang Xian wanted to improvise some arowanas for sale, but the goldfish fair spoiled his plan. Even though arowanas had a high value, it was more than 10 times bigger in size than the goldfish. Hence, the consumption of the dragon energy would be high. His current level of dragon energy was still quite low. Besides, the value of the goldfish was not bad either. Tomorrow is the goldfish fair. There must be buyers. I can use my dragon energy to upgrade a few goldfish that are of high worth. Wang Xian thought to himself as he hugged the goldfish under the umbrella and headed towards the dormitory. The rain was still as heavy as before, and there were only a few students in the school compound. That seems to be him. As she entered the school gate, Guan Shuqing was holding onto an umbrella when she saw the figure who was pacing briskly past her. She stared at his umbrella and the clothes he was wearing with radiance flickering in her eyes. Guan Shuqing hesitated, but she quickly caught up and called out, "Hey you!" Huh! Wang Xian looked back in complete bewilderment when he heard a voice from behind. It's really him. Guan Shuqing recognized Wang Xian's face with an astonishing expression on her face. It's really you. Thank you for your help today, Guan Shuqing walked over and said gratefully. Guan Shuqing. Wang Xian was slightly stunned, but he nodded with a smile. Do you know me? Asked Guan Shuqing, surprised when he called out her name. How could I not know the renowned beauty of class of 2020? Wang Xian looked at her and chuckled. Chapter 6. Redcap Brown Oranda. You are also from class of 2020? Which department are you from? On the small path in the school, Guan Shuqing looked at the boy with shimmering eyes. A height of 1.7 meters wasn't very tall. However, he had a unique aura around him. His determined face carried with it a tinge of stability that students didn't possess. She was full of gratitude towards the man who had helped her in the afternoon. If it wasn't for this man, she really couldn't imagine the consequences. I study business administration. You can call me Wang Xian, Wang Xian replied with a smile. Business administration? Our classrooms are close to each other. You're not going home for the summer break either? Guan Shuqing continued. I'm really thankful for your help with the incident today. If it wasn't for you, I really don't know what would have happened to me. You don't have to thank me for it. It was just a simple act. Wang Xian smiled before continuing. No, I'm not going home this summer. Found a summer job outside the school. Oh really? What a coincidence. Sadly, I got fired by my boss. Guan Shuqing pouted slightly. Hey, Wang Xian looked at her and smiled. My dormitory is right over there. Talk to you next time. Wang Xian waved his hand as he spoke. All he was thinking about was the ornamental fish and making money. He didn't have the additional energy to think about chatting with a beautiful girl. Wang Xian walked away directly. This made Guan Shuqing a little shocked as she looked at his back. Then, bye-bye. You. What? Asked Wang Xian as he saw her stop suddenly despite having things to say. Can I add you on WeChat? It's all thanks to you that the incident in the day was settled. Let me buy you a meal sometime, said Guan Shuqing. Alright. Wang Xian nodded his head. However, he smiled bitterly after looking at the fishbowl and umbrella in his hand. My phone is in my pocket. I'll give you my number and you can add me with that. Alright. Guan Shuqing nodded her head. She took out her phone and added Wang Xian on WeChat. Alright, I shall not take up more time of yours. Goodbye. Guan Shuqing waved her hands at him after sending the friend request. Goodbye. Wang Xian nodded his head before walking quickly in the direction of the dormitory. Did I lose my charm? Guan Shuqing touched her face as she looked at the back view of Wang Xian at a loss. If it were any other man that had helped me, perhaps. What a unique man. Could it be that he already has a girlfriend? Guan Shuqing mumbled to herself. She hesitated for a moment before taking out her phone and sending a message to a classmate of hers that was also in business administration. Xiaoya, is there a guy called Wang Xian in your class? Wang Xian? Yes. What's the matter? Don't tell me he's wooing you. That can't be. He's a pretty introverted man. After several tens of seconds, she received a reply from her classmate. Introverted. Guan Shuqing looked at the reply messages from Xiaoya and sank into deep thought. She replied, no. It's just that this man really helped me out today, and I would like to find out more about him. He is a little different from others. Huh? Really helped you out? Oh Goddess Shuqing, are you thinking of marrying him to show your gratitude? I know a little about Wang Xian as he is in the same dormitory as my boyfriend. From what my boyfriend told me, his family background's conditions are really bad and his sister is all he has as family. Not only has he got to work for his living expenses, he still has to raise his sister. He didn't join any group outing in his first year in school. In fact, he rarely joined his roommates in any gatherings. He's really poor. Poor. Guan Shuqing felt a little confused when she saw Xiao Ye's reply. But he went to first-grade restaurant for lunch today. Did he have something to do at first-grade restaurant? Guan Shuqing was confused but subsequently replied, "All right, I got it. From what you said, this man is pretty good." Oh my Goddess Shuqing, you can't be serious. You have to think thrice about it. Don't read too much into it. I'm focusing on my studies right now. Wang Xian had no clue that the it girl of the school was scooping around about him. At this moment he was back in his dormitory. He locked the door of the room and stared excitedly at the 8 goldfish in the fish tank. I wonder if the exhaustion would be huge. Wang Xian scooped up one of the goldfish and thought to himself. With just a thought, he injected dragon energy into the body of the black and white goldfish. The breed of this goldfish was Ranchu, and it had cost $120 for one. Could be considered rather expensive. He was preparing to upgrade the goldfish to the most valuable redcap brown oranda. Therefore, all the goldfish that he had chosen were of similar colors to the redcap brown oranda. As the dragon energy entered the body of the goldfish, a controlling force cruised within it. A faint smile appeared on Wang Xian's face. The dragon race had absolute control over marine animals and dragon energy, could even upgrade other marine animals. He picked up his phone and upgraded the goldfish according to the picture in the phone. It's done. Looking at the modified redcap brown oranda, Wang Xian's face was filled with excitement. The redcap brown oranda which was upgraded using dragon energy was much more beautiful than those in the picture. Moreover, it had a nobility aura around it as though the fish was from a noble race. Besides that, this redcap brown oranda looked extremely lively. When compared with other redcap brown oranda, this was definitely one of the highest tiers. It's so beautiful. However, upgrading one redcap brown oranda would exhaust 2 points of dragon energy. This exhaustion is a bit high. If I am to upgrade larger size fish like arowana and koi carps, it would probably take 20 to 30 dragon energy. Wang Xian frowned slightly. He had only gained 20 points of dragon energy after devouring thousands of jin of fish in the entire lake of the school. After helping Guan Shuqing in the afternoon, he was only left with 19 points. Let's make some money first. I can gather dragon energy by devouring fish in the lake or oceans. Besides that, I can also gather it through cultivation practice. Wang Xian thought to himself. Money was still very important to him. He continued his upgrades using dragon energy. Soon, several redcap brown orandas were created. Looking at the lively and nimble redcap brown orandas in the fishbowl, excitement filled his face. 8 goldfish. If we go by the current market price, these would be worth more than 2 million. Wang Xian's eyes lit up. If he could really get 2 million, he wouldn't have to work part-time in the future. He would also be able to allow his sister to truly enjoy her university life. Name Wang Xian. Race. Human, ability to transform into a dragon. Level 1. Dragon energy 3/1000. Superpower. Dominate the marine animals, ability to rule any marine animals that are lower than your own level. Devour any form of living, for extraction of dragon energy. Art of cultivation. Divine dragon transformation. I have exhausted 16 points of dragon energy, and can clearly feel that I have been weakened. I've got to cultivate diligently from now on to reach level 2 as quickly as possible and become a true divine dragon. I will also have to build my own dragon palace. Looking at the information about himself, Wang Xian's eyes lit up. With a casual jump, he jumped onto his bed and immediately sat with his legs crossed on it. Divine dragon transformation. Directing dragon energy into the body. Cruising in the high skies. Chapter 7. An Accident. Not too bad to gain 20 points of dragon energy after one night of cultivation. The next morning Wang Xian stared at the level of dragon energy he gained over the night with a flash of radiance in his eyes. Given his speed, it would take him 50 days to up his level to level 2. According to the Divine Dragon Transformation, one can only reach the first transformation after level 9. The first transformation of Divine Dragon Transformation could allow Wang Xian to roam the ocean and dive into the clouds. He would be a baby dragon after the first transformation. It's still far. After earning some money, I'll head out to the sea. As Wang Xian wondered to himself, he washed himself up swiftly. I'll ride Dahai's scooter over. After some thought, he picked up the keys that Dahai had passed to him before the summer break. Wang Dahai was the best friend of Wang Xian. They were quite close, likely because they shared the same last name. Wang Dahai was a local. Knowing that Wang Xian was poor, he often took care of him. The funniest thing was that Wang Dahai offered to bring Wang Xian to one of those sauna cover brothels after knowing he was still a virgin. Eventually, Wang Xian turned him down speechlessly. Wang Dahai was slightly plump and lazy. Other students bought bicycles for themselves, but he said he was too lazy to paddle. So he bought a scooter. Wang Xian hugged the fishbowl down the stairs. The rain had already stopped with the sun shining brightly. The summer air after the storm was refreshing. Wang Xian came to the car park and started the engine of Wang Dahai's scooter. His scooter was slightly more massive as compared to the AIMA scooters. A stout person like Wang Dahai could ride this scooter comfortably. Wang Xian placed the fishbowl on the leg rest and drove to the flowers and birds market. I hope I can sell all of them. Wang Xian grinned. Throughout the 30-minute journey from his school to the flowers and birds market, his ride was smooth and steady as he was trying to prevent the fishbowl from toppling. Almost there. Wang Xian checked the location in front of him and noticed the massive crowd at the flowers and birds market. He also spotted a lot of cars with non-local car plates driving in slowly. Looks like many people are coming for the goldfish fair. Wang Xian sped up a little as he drove towards the car park of the flowers and birds market through a side lane. Vroom. Vroom. Suddenly, he heard a vroom coming from behind. Soon after, Wang Xian saw a few heavy-duty motorcycles dashing in from the junction at a speed not less than 80 km per hour. Wang Xian then noticed 4 heavy-duty motorcycles were charging towards him at a fast speed. Vroom. Haha. Sorry, I'm first. At this time, a heavy-duty motorcycle at the forefront braked swiftly, and the bike stopped steadily. The cyclist laughed out loud as he took off his helmet. The rest of the motorcycles behind braked and stopped quickly too. Oh no. One of the bikes did not manage to brake and skidded suddenly. The road was still wet after a day of rain. Hence, the bike hurtled in Wang Xian's direction. Wang Xian was slightly appalled. He quickly dodged to the side when the bike came crashing in. Bang! The scooter that he was sitting on was sent flying back for 3 to 4 meters. After the motorcycle hit the scooter, it stopped. Damn! The bike actually skidded. A young man on the bike took off his helmet and spoke embarrassed. He got down off his motorcycle and checked out the front of his bike. Upon seeing there was not much damage, he heaved a sigh of relief. Luckily, the bike is intact. Wang Xian pulled a long face when the young man ignored the scooter that he hit and examined his own motorcycle the moment he got down from his bike. If Wang Xian was not strengthened by the dragon energy, he might not have dodged the hit in time. Oh no, my goldfish! Wang Xian hurried over, and his face was even longer when he saw the broken fish bowl. The fish bowl was shattered, and all 8 of the red-cap brown orandas were struggling on the ground. 2 of them were crushed under the wheels and had died immediately. Another 4 of them were half dead. Seeing the shedding fish scales, the fish must have fallen and knocked themselves. Wang Xian sulked as he looked at the young man who behaved as if nothing had happened. With a darkened expression, he walked over. How could you drive like that? And don't you have to check my scooter after knocking it down? The young man turned to the scooter that was lying on the floor as soon as he heard Wang Xian. Okay, lad. I'm sorry. How much is your scooter? Tell me. I'll compensate you, said the young man with a smile as he paid no serious attention to the scooter. What's wrong? You didn't knock someone down, did you? At the same time, those juveniles who were also on motorcycles came from behind and checked on the young man. Nothing. Just a scooter. Heh, seriously. The quality of this custom-made Harley-Davidson was no joke. The young man replied laughingly as he turned around. Wang Xian stared coldly at the young man who did not care about anything. He went straight to the young man. Hey, aren't you going to compensate me for the things you damaged? Her. The young man looked at Wang Xian and smiled. Of course I will. It's just a scooter, isn't it? Tell me how much it is. Heh, not only the scooter. My goldfish too. Wang Xian replied nonchalantly. Goldfish? Haha, there were goldfish too? Just name the price. Upon hearing it, the young man laughed and took out about 5 to 6 bills from his wallet. As he spoke, he dug all his money out from it. Here's about $6,000. This should be enough. Get going. 6,000. Wang Xian looked at the money in his hands with a mocking expression. You can't even buy a fishtail with that amount. Lad, are you trying to extort? The young man asked coldly as he turned and glared at him. What? Are you trying to put the bite on us? The 3 juveniles walked over at this time as they glared at Wang Xian scornfully. Some of the people at the entrance of the flowers and birds market crowded over with curiosity when they saw the accident. Lad, you don't need to stare at me. $6,000 is more than enough to cover that run-down scooter of yours and those pathetic goldfish, the young man said as he peered at Wang Xian who was staring at him. He pointed at him with much displeasure. Take the money while you can. Otherwise, you'll not get a single cent. Seems like the young man who rode the heavy-duty motorcycle accidentally knocked into the young lad on scooter. Is he all right? If he is all right, 6,000 is not a small sum. Yes, he's all right. But that fellow seems discontented. Those few people who were riding the motorcycles were going too fast. The engines were roaring loudly just now. It's a Harley-Davidson. That motorcycle is so cool. It must have cost a bomb. At this time, the surrounding spectators were whispering as they watched the group. Trying to send me off with a mere $6,000? Wang Xian sneered at the young man. He turned to his scooter and picked up the red-cap brown orandas. Chapter 8. Goldfish for Motorcycle. Wang Xian placed the red-cap brown oranda on a piece of glass and walked straight to the young man. 8 goldfish. I'm afraid your 6,000 isn't sufficient at all. I'm calling the police now to let them handle this accident. Wang Xian looked at the young man and spoke coldly. The young man in front of him was acting too arrogant and conceited. If he had apologized the moment he alighted, Wang Xian might not have been too calculative with him. After all he had to do was to exhaust another 16 points of dragon energy. However, he was so arrogant and Wang Xian naturally wouldn't just let it go. What he didn't know at this moment was that he was gradually gaining the imperious nature of a divine dragon. Brat, you must be trying to make a fuss out of this. How much could your thrashed motorcycle cost? How much do your petty goldfish cost? I'll compensate you for them. Don't try to get more out of this. The young man walked over and spoke coldly when he saw Wang Xian take out his mobile phone. Hey brat, are you looking for trouble? Several young men behind him walked over and surrounded Wang Xian in all 4 directions. Hey, don't be so rash, guys. Let's talk this over. An old man at the side saw the commotion, walked over and shouted out of goodwill. Son, look at what you've lost. These young men aren't being unreasonable. They would compensate you the right amount. Don't be greedy. Wang Xian took a glance at the old man before turning his vision to the 4 young men around him. I don't need you guys to compensate me for the damaged motorcycle, but my goldfish. Wang Xian paused, placing his 8 red-cap brown orandas on the floor. He looked at them coldly before remarking, you have to compensate me for my goldfish. There's a total of 8 red-cap brown oranda. As for the value of each fish, you guys can look it up online yourself. What bullshit red-cap brown oranda are you saying? Hey arrogant brat, don't spout nonsense in front of me. Let me tell you this. Don't even dream of getting a cent today. The young man pointed and spoke coldly after seeing how Wang Xian had acted. What? Red-cap brown oranda? However, the old man who was trying to play the mediator was shocked. He looked at the goldfish beside Wang Xian and ran over immediately. "These are really redcap brown oranda. They are real," exclaimed the old man as he saw the goldfish in the broken fishbowl after running over. He squatted down, feeling a little heartache before shouting, "These are premium redcap brown oranda. These two fish should be fine. Hey guys, hurry over and take care of them." Redcap brown oranda. Are those really redcap brown oranda? Several old men standing behind the crowd exclaimed as they walked over in shock. "These are really redcap brown oranda. They are the nobles among the goldfish. What a shame that two of them were crushed to death directly." Looking at the condition of these fish, they could even be considered to be among the best of the redcap brown oranda. Each one of them would be worth at least $300K, $400K. Some citizens exclaimed and shook their heads when they walked over and saw the goldfish on the ground. $300K, $400K. The group of young men, who were standing at a side, heard what the old man and the others said. They were completely shocked as they looked at the goldfish on the floor with disbelief. These goldfish are worth $300K, $400K? They asked in shock. "Not these." The old man lifted his head and said to the group of young men, "Each of them is worth $300K, $400K. Look at their appearances, they wouldn't be cheaper than $350,000. These two fish are crushed to death directly and the scales of these four are damaged. 6 fish would cost no less than $2 million, an old man replied. Redcap brown oranda are extremely hard to breed. Now that there are 8 of them appearing at the same time, what a misfortune for them too." As the middle-aged man spoke, he shook his head constantly. More and more citizens were crowding over. They were all here for the goldfish fair today and were goldfish lovers. Naturally, they were able to recognize the nobles of the goldfish breed, redcap brown oranda. As the young men heard the sigh of the crowd, their jaws dropped. Wang Xian looked at the young man and said coldly, "I believe it would be best to let the police handle this incident. You can't get away with less than $2 million. There's a goldfish fair at the Flowers and Birds Market today. It would be easy to assess the losses once the professionals are here to do an assessment." The old man shook his head and continued, "Hey son, you should have been more careful when you were riding. What a shame that these goldfish were." The young man opened his mouth in disbelief. The other young men behind him were also standing there in shock. They would have never expected that the goldfish that they had killed would be worth $2 million. When the young man saw Wang Xian took out his mobile phone, his face turned black. This incident was entirely his fault, and there would be no doubt that the final verdict would be that he had to compensate at least $2 million. However, how was he going to take out that amount of money? If the old master in his house was to know of this incident, it would be an even greater disaster. "Hey brother, please don't call the police." The expressions on the young man's face changed rapidly as he spoke to Wang Xian in a hurry. "I'm fine with not calling the police, but you have to compensate me," Wang Xian replied, looking at him coldly. The young man looked at the group of young men with embarrassment. "Shan-he, the best we could do is $40,000, $50,000, $100,000. You should also know that." The group of young men behind him had helpless looks on them as they continued, "Why don't you ask your—" "I can't." The young man shook his head immediately. He definitely couldn't let his family know about it. He looked at Wang Xian, gritted his teeth and said, "Brother, why don't I compensate you with my heavy-duty motorcycle?" "Heavy-duty motorcycle?" Wang Xian raised his eyebrows and turned his sight to the imperious-looking motorcycle at the side. "My heavy-duty motorcycle was custom-made recently and is worth $1.53 million, the young man said reluctantly. "A heavy-duty motorcycle that costs $1.53 million? Wang Xian frowned and doubted his claim. "You can check it out on the official website. Moreover, I have records of my order here." The young man took out his mobile phone and opened up the record. This heavy-duty motorcycle is an exclusive custom-made version of Electra Glide. The total cost of it was $1.53 million. Even if it is $1.53 million, it's still not enough. Moreover, this is a second-hand heavy-duty motorcycle. Wang Xian said sarcastically, "If we just take the value of 6 redcap brown oranda, The value would at least be $2, $2, 3 million. The young man was embarrassed at the words of Wang Xian. He walked over to the small trunk of the Harley heavy-duty motorcycle and retrieved a box. I'll include this pair of shoes. The young man opened the box and revealed a pair of shoes. Nike Mag Back to the Future 2. There's only a limited 81 pairs in the whole world, and each pair is worth approximately $70,000. Wang Xian was slightly shocked as he looked at this pair of shoes in disbelief. He had bought these shoes to show off to others. Now, the other young men couldn't help but feel their mouths twitching. This accident alone has pushed him back to the time before he became free. Wang Xian frowned. No matter how great a $1.5 million heavy-duty motorcycle or a $700,000 pair of shoes were, they weren't as great as money. You could sell the heavy-duty motorcycle away, and there wouldn't be a lack of buyers for this pair of shoes, the young man said reluctantly. If you want cash, I don't have it. Moreover, your goldfish were worth $2 million, just like the worth of my items added together. All right. Wang Xian nodded his head, but he was clearly not very pleased. Endnote. One old master usually refers to the eldest or the one in charge of the family. Chapter 9. The Damn Motorcycle and the Shoes. This damn motorcycle and shoes. Wang Xian came out from the vehicle administrative office with a darkened expression as he looked at the Harley motorcycle and the pair of shoes. The young man was acting like a scoundrel. He, too, took out $2 million worth of goods as compensation since the goldfish were worth over $2 million. A Harley motorcycle and a pair of shoes made up the sum quite nicely. But there is one good thing. Judging from the reactions from the flowers and birds market, I should be able to sell away all my goldfish. Wang Xian mumbled. The crowd began to multiply when the people around them found out about the red-cap brown orandas that were crushed under the wheels. At that time, someone expressed an interest in buying them, but he was afraid that the remaining fish would have implications after the accident. Hence, he did not dare to complete the purchase. Subsequently, Wang Xian followed the young man to the vehicle administrative office to transfer the ownership of the Harley motorcycle. At the same time, the young man got him a heavy-duty motorcycle license through some ties. This motorcycle. Wang Xian gazed for a short while before he rode on it. He knew how to ride a motorcycle, but this motorcycle was too high class for him. Wang Xian started the engine and headed back to school with much caution. This is way too fast. Wang Xian pressed gently on the accelerator, and the motorcycle simply dashed out. Just now, he tried to find out more about this Harley motorcycle. In general, most of the heavy-duty motorcycles were worth about a few $100,000. One of their unique features was the ability to get modified and custom-made. A custom-made Harley that cost $1.5 million was possible. The most unique feature for Harley motorcycles was that they were cool and extremely flashy. Any men who rode on one would be full of charisma. Besides, Harley motorcycles made their appearances in many U.S. blockbuster movies. Wang Xian could sense the curious gazes from the pedestrian when he rode the bike on the street. Gosh, this Harley motorcycle is still far from a sports car. Wang Xian complained to himself. After all, sports cars could act as shields for the drivers and passengers, whereas the heavy-duty motorcycles worked the other way around. If he were to be thrown off the bike, he would sustain serious injuries. For a first-timer in riding such a heavy-duty motorcycle, Wang Xian was riding it slowly as he valued his life very much. However, he was in a light-hearted mood today as he had found a way to earn money. He, you gave that lad your favorite vehicle you just bought in your flashy shoes. There goes almost everything you've been saving up for when you were studying overseas, said a juvenile to He, who had a gloomy look on his face at the entrance of the vehicle administrative office. What else could I do? The young man He replied despondently. That's true. The rest of the juveniles looked at him pitifully. He's family was known to be strict in their discipline. His father could not tolerate any mistakes. Back then, He got into some trouble, and his father kicked him out of the country for 3 years. Finally, he made it back. If he got into trouble again, he would be sent away again. I should call my sister and ask her to come, and she doesn't need to work part-time anymore. After Wang Xian parked his bike behind the dormitory, He brought his shoes back to his room cheerfully. With the ability to earn a living, his younger sister didn't need to work anymore. Wang Xian entered his room and hurled the pair of shoes onto his bed. He took out his phone and called his younger sister. Xiao Yu. Brother, what's up? I'm tutoring Nan Nan. Xiao Yu's voice came from the phone. Let me tell you this. You don't have to work part-time anymore. Come to me. I have earned some money that is enough for our living expenses. Wang Xian chuckled as he spoke. No way, brother. Nanan's parents just gave me my wage in advance today. Besides, tutoring Nanan is a relaxing task. On top of that, Xiaomi and I had plans to go to Rivertown together. His younger sister, Xiaoyu, continued to speak on the phone. Wang Xian knit his eyebrows slightly. Xiaomi was the best friend of Xiaoyu, and Xiaoyu was staying at Xiaomi's place now. Both of them were enrolled at the University of Rivertown. Alright, I will send you some money so you don't have to be frugal. I'll give you a surprise when you come to school, said Wang Xian after pondering. Brother, you don't have to. I still have $5,000 with me. I won't have a chance to use yours. Alright, I need to explain a question to Nana now. Do. This girl. Wang Xian shook his head and laughed. When you are here, I'll prepare a great present for you. Wang Xian chuckled as he made up his mind. If it weren't for that young man, I could have earned another 2 million. 2 million. Radiance flashed in Wang Xian's eyes as he gathered his thoughts. He decided to sell some redcap brown oranda tomorrow again. At most, I can only sell the fish one more time tomorrow. Otherwise, someone will sense something amiss if it becomes too frequent. Wang Xian was thinking that it would be fine if he did it just once or twice. However, he would definitely attract unwanted attention if it continued. He would get into trouble if he lured the attention of some crooks. Wang Xian was still a meticulous man. Continue with the cultivation. Wang Xian crossed his legs on his bed and began to practice his divine dragon transformation. He could earn a few $1,000,000 with just a dozen points of dragon energy. Because of divine dragon transformation and the ability to turn into a divine dragon, Wang Xian was full of confidence for his future. In the future, he would not have to worry even for a little sum of money, and he could pursue a better life. Another night of cultivation passed. When he woke up, he read his profile. Name Wang Xian. Race. Human, ability to transform into a dragon. Level 1. Dragon energy. 47/1000. Superpower. Dominate the marine animals, ability to rule any marine animals that are lower than your own level. Devour any form of living, for extraction of dragon energy. Art of cultivation. Divine dragon transformation. Over 40 points of dragon energy. I feel my strength growing stronger. Wang Xian sensed the change in his body and smiled. Given the past, his current condition could win a fight against 7 or 8 of himself. I shall go and get some goldfish first. Wang Xian gave a thought and looked at the pair of shoes on the bed. I better find some time to sell this away. A $700,000 worth pair of shoes is just 2. After he stepped out from the dormitory, he stood in front of the Harley motorcycle with the keys in his hand. The corner of the lips was slightly drawn. This bike is just awesome. If I ride on this after the school reopens, it will be way too cool. Wang Xiang grinned as he rode on the bike and headed towards the old street. I shall grab some breakfast first. He walked into a decent breakfast shop and made his way to the same aquarium shop after his breakfast. I'll get 3 goldfish and an arowana. Wang Xian thought of upgrading an arowana to a premium arowana to earn his last fortune. The arowana cost $3,000 while the goldfish was only $50. Wang Xian went back to his dormitory again to upgrade the 4 ornamental fish he'd just bought. Premium chili red arowana. Mine would not lose out to that chili red arowana that was sold for 3 million online. Wang Xian looked at the chili red arowana in the fish tank with brightness in his eyes. The bright red fish was giving off a classy radiance. If he could sell this fish away, he would not crack his brain for money anymore and could concentrate on cultivating his dragon energy, so that he could become the divine dragon that could roam the universe. Chapter 10. Selling Fish. Vroom vroom vroom. On the second ring road of Rivertown, Wang Xian was riding his Harley heavy-duty motorcycle. He had a styrofoam box tied around his body as he rode towards the location of the flowers and birds market. To prevent the incident of yesterday from happening again, he had made the effort to find a solid styrofoam box for today and ensure that the 5 goldfish in the arowana were well preserved. While cruising down the road with his helmet on, there was an indescribable extreme pleasure. However, Wang Xian didn't ride too fast and simply maintained a speed of approximately 60 kilometers per hour. It was indeed more satisfying to ride on a heavy-duty motorcycle that cost over $1.5 million than Wang Dehai's motorcycle. Oh, poor Dehai. I dumped his motorcycle near the flowers and birds market yesterday, and it's probably gone by now. However, I'll let you ride my Harley when school reopens. Wang Xian thought to himself. He could already imagine the exhilarated expression on Wang Dehai when he saw his Harley. The speed of the heavy-duty motorcycle was much faster than taking a taxi. After approximately 10 minutes, Wang Xian had reached the entrance to the flowers and birds market. Under the shocked looks of the security personnel, Wang Xian parked his Harley in the car park before carrying the styrofoam box and walking into the market. The number of people today is substantially less than yesterday. Wang Xian looked at the people in the flowers and birds market and saw the directional signboard prompting where the goldfish fair would be held. He immediately headed towards it. The goldfish fair was to be held in the center of the flowers and birds market. After entering the place, Wang Xian noticed that there were several hundreds of people around. At that place, there were some advertisement signboards that gave introductions about the various goldfish farms and the goldfish on display. Wang Xian walked further in and saw a row of fish bowls placed neatly on the table. Within the fish bowls there were all kinds of goldfish that were extremely beautiful. At the center of the table there were 2 larger-size fish bowls. Within these fish bowls, there were only 2 to 3 goldfish. Wang Xian saw that there were 2 red-cap brown oranda in them. He looked towards the price tag at the side which showed $430,000. Calm down. Seems like I made a huge loss yesterday. Wang Xian was clearly displeased after seeing the price. He looked around him and saw goldfish that ranged from $40,000 to $50,000, and also some that ranged between $10,000 to $20,000. He looked around for a while before heading to the service counter of the organizer. At this moment there were 4-5 people sitting in front of the reception. Among them, there were some middle-aged and old men and also a young beautiful attendant. Hey pretty, I would like to ask, what should I do if I wish to display my goldfish for sale in this place? Wang Xian asked the service attendant. Huh? What? You would like to display and sell your goldfish? The service attendant looked at him with a little disbelief and noticed that he was carrying a styrofoam box in his arms. Yes. Wang Xian nodded his head. If you would like to display your goldfish for the goldfish fair to sell them, you would need to provide the fish farm quality certification as proof. All the participating fish farms for our fair are successful goldfish breeding farms. Secondly, you need to have valuable goldfish. If you can meet the criteria, we would be happy to arrange a spot for you. However, we would be collecting some commission if you complete any transaction. The beautiful service attendant smiled at him and replied. Wang Xian frowned slightly upon hearing her explanation. I can provide great goldfish. However, with regard to the fish farm quality certification, unqualified goldfish breeding farms are not accepted in our goldfish fair. Before Wang Xian could complete his sentence, a middle-aged man, who was lying on a chair, rejected him directly. I'm sorry about that. The service attendant smiled apologetically after hearing what the middle-aged man had said. Wang Xian frowned slightly, nodded his head and headed out. Oh. A young man carrying a styrofoam box here to ask for an exhibition spot. This is clearly the boss of a small goldfish shop wishing to attract some attention to sell his goldfish. You don't have to pay attention to people like him. All right, Director Zhao. Wang Xian vaguely heard the voice as he left the place. All he could do was to shake his head silently. Forget it. Since Redcap Brown Oranda is so famous, I don't necessarily have to rely on your fair to sell them. Wang Xian carried the large styrofoam box and headed out. He stopped at the entrance and looked around him. Should I just set up a stand here to sell? Wang Xian thought about it. The human traffic flow of this place was great since anyone who wished to enter the fair would have to pass by this place. Moreover, he was just going to place a box right here. He wouldn't be obstructing anyone. Wang Xian smiled and placed the box down by the road, after which, he opened up the cover of the box. 1 blood-red-colored arowana and 5 red-cap brown oranda were revealed in the box. 6 fish in one box was a little cramped, but they were very lively and swam constantly. Through modification using dragon energy, their vitality was much stronger than ordinary fish. Wang Xian squatted at that spot, while looking at the pedestrians who were walking around. Perhaps it was because Wang Xian looked a little rustic with a large styrofoam box beside him, and the fact that the pedestrian couldn't see the arowana and goldfish within it. There wasn't any pedestrian who walked over. Cough cough. Wang Xian coughed out loud and shouted towards the pedestrian, "Top-grade arowana and goldfish for sale. Come and take a look." Some pedestrians were a little curious when they saw a teenager setting up a store by the roads. After seeing the huge styrofoam box beside him, they couldn't help but feel a little suspicious. Let's go and take a look at what kind of goldfish he has. At this moment, a beautiful lady, who had her hands around a young man, looked over with curiosity as she said to the young man, "What's there to see here? There couldn't possibly be any good goldfish here. Let's head over to the fish fair to buy." The young man replied impatiently, "Let's just go and take a look," that beautiful girl said and pulled the arm of the young man flirtatiously. What a drag. What kind of good goldfish could a roadside stall have in an ugly styrofoam box? The young man remarked impatiently and had reluctance written all over his face as he walked over. "Wow, so beautiful. Is this an arowana? And these goldfish are simply too beautiful," exclaimed that beautiful girl as she squatted down with exhilaration. "No need to make such a fuss," said the man without squatting down, nor did he care to shoot a look at inside the box. "All the goldfish at the fair will be beautiful and of valuable breeds. Okay, now let's go. It's not graceful squatting on the street. But I feel that the goldfish here are so beautiful." The beautiful girl was clearly not an expert in this field. She continued, "And this arowana is truly too beautiful. I really like it. I want to buy it, I want to buy it." "If you like them, just buy them." The young man took out his wallet directly and acted generously as he said, "Hey kid, how much do the fish in your styrofoam box cost? I'll take them all." Wang Xian lifted his head and was a little shocked after seeing the wallet of that young man. There were approximately a few $1,000s in it. This made him feel speechless. "What? Say something, man. How much do they cost in total?" The young man looked at Wang Xian and remarked impatiently. Wang Xian looked at him and replied, "If you have $5 million on your card, we could go to a bank and do a transfer." Wang Xian's words shocked the young man. He frowned, stared at Wang Xian angrily and said, "Hey kid, what kind of nonsense are you sputtering? I'm asking you how much the fish in this broken styrofoam box cost." "I'm not sputtering nonsense. I'm just speaking the truth." Wang Xian revealed a smile when he noticed his conversation with the young man drew some curious customers over. Chapter 11. Setting up a stall. "Boss, you're kidding me. How much are your goldfish?" "I will take them all," said the pretty lady with a glare when she heard what Wang Xian told her boyfriend. "Babe, your boyfriend might not be able to afford it," Wang Xian replied with a smile. "What? Did you just say that I can't afford it?" The young man peered at him. Scornfully, he held up the car keys in his hand. "Did you say that I can't afford it?" Wang Xian looked at the BMW car keys in his hand. Probably a 5 Series that was worth about $500,000 to $600,000. What kind of goldfish are they? Why are they in a styrofoam box? A middle-aged man came over with curiosity when he overheard their conversations. Another old man popped his head over from the side. Wang Xian grinned at the middle-aged man. "A premium chili red arowana and 5 red-cap brown orandas." "What? Red-cap brown orandas?" The middle-aged man was slightly stunned as he squatted down hurriedly. "They are red-cap brown orandas. They are." The middle-aged man looked at the red-cap brown orandas in the styrofoam box dumbfoundedly. "Are they very expensive?" The pretty lady asked with doubt when she saw the astonished look of the middle-aged man. Yes, he nodded. I did not expect there would be 5. They look even more exquisite than those in the exhibition. They are beautiful. Just too beautiful. There were 2 red-cap brown orandas in the fair, priced at $430,000 each. I heard they sold 2 of them yesterday. What? Each of them cost $430,000? The pretty lady gasped with an unbelievable expression. The young man at the side had his eyes wide open as he looked at the goldfish in the styrofoam box again. He stuttered, How could this be possible? The red-cap brown orandas are the most noble breed among all the goldfish breeds. I won't be exaggerating to say it's one of hundreds and thousands or more, said the middle-aged man at a steady pace. This arowana is a beautiful chili red arowana. It is so beautiful. The old man who popped his head over was not paying attention to the red-cap brown orandas. Instead, he fixed his gaze upon the red arowana. How is it, sir? This is the premium chili red arowana. Wuxia asked smilingly when he saw the old man staring at the chili red arowana. He knew he met someone who understood the value of the fish. Highest quality, the old man exclaimed. This is the most beautiful arowana I've ever seen. Young chap, how can you contain it in a cheap styrofoam box? You are. The old man kept shaking his head as he exclaimed. This arowana does look beautiful, but I don't really know much about arowana. Sir, is this really a premium grade? Asked the middle-aged man doubtfully. Not only is this a premium grade arowana, I doubt the previous one from town when that was worth $3 million was any better quality than this. The chili red scales give off a shiny glow, and the barbel at the mouth is prominent. This is simply beautiful. Young chap, how much are you selling this arowana for? Asked the old man as he exclaimed. Wuxia went silent for a while when he heard the old man. He pondered before he answered, $3 million. I'll sell this for $3 million. On the other hand, I'll sell these red-cap brown orandas at $350,000 each. Both the old man and the middle-aged man were slightly stunned. The red-cap brown orandas were sold at $430,000 each in the exhibition. You're selling them cheap. To be honest, if you go to a first-tier city and auction this arowana, I'm sure the price will be more than $3 million, the old man suggested. No, I'll stick to this pricing. Wuxia shook his head. He wanted to sell them for cash as soon as possible. Hence, it did not matter even if he sold them at a lower price. Besides, these goldfish and arowana only consumed 40 points of dragon energy. The consumption was slightly higher for upgrading the arowana. To upgrade one arowana, it would consume 30 points of dragon energy. The young man found their conversation hard to believe. He looked at his wallet and the BMW 5 Series car key on his hand. Without any word, he stuffed them back to his pocket and pulled the pretty lady who was squatting down beside him. The pretty lady stood up and gazed at the goldfish and the arowana in the styrofoam box. She thought she had a rather wealthy boyfriend. Yet, it was still far-fetched for him judging by the current circumstances. A few fish that cost $4 to $5 million. Wuxia did not care about the young man and the pretty girl who left. At this time a few more customers crowded around him, as they'd overheard the conversation just now. Are they really the red-cap brown orandas? Is there a premium chili red arowana over here? A few customers walked over and asked curiously. Yes, these are the premium red-cap brown orandas that are even more beautiful than those in the fair. Look, there is another rare arowana. The middle-aged man pointed out for the 3 customers at the side. Really, the 3 customers came over. When they saw the goldfish and the arowana, they wore shocked faces immediately. You're right. They are the red-cap brown orandas and a premium arowana. Gosh, 5 of them. Young chap, did you say one for $350,000? Yes, one for $350,000. It's $80,000 cheaper than the ones they're selling in the fair. On top of this arowana is selling for $3 million. Wuxia answered. $80,000 cheaper than buying from the fair. This is quite a deal. A middle-aged man nodded. Where is the red-cap brown oranda that is $80,000 cheaper than the ones in the fair? More passers-by popped over with curiosity. Redcap brown oranda that is cheaper by $80,000? A group of people who just walked out from the fair joined the crowd with dubiousness. When the crowd gathered, it was another round of commotion. As more people joined in, the number of bystanders who were watching it for fun grew. One after another, they walked over to check out the fish when they heard that the redcap brown orandas were selling at $80,000 cheaper than the fair. Soon, dozens of people gathered around Wuxia, and the crowd eventually grew to a size that jammed the road. Young chap, did you say you are selling the redcap brown oranda for $350,000? I'll get two. At this moment, a middle-aged man called out. Finally, business opens. Wuxia was thrilled as more potential buys surfaced after more than dozens of people gathered. Okay, $700,000 in total. You can check. I promise there isn't any problem with them, said Wuxia immediately. Sure. Can the person in front let me pass? A middle-aged man came to the front and looked at the goldfish in the styrofoam box. With satisfaction on his face, no issue. They look just fine with strong vitality. Can I pay through bank transfer? Asked the middle-aged man while looking at Wuxia. Of course. Wuxia nodded immediately. Okay, I will get these two redcap brown oranda. Here, wait. I think I'd better buy a small fish tank. Sir, I should be giving you the fish tank. I'll pay you some money to bring me a few tanks back too. Wuxia handed two bills to the middle-aged man. Hey, young chap, you're honest. Hang on. I'll bring you a few more fish tanks. It's unsightly to put something so valuable in a styrofoam box. Chapter 12 Target. Ocean. Alright, I have transferred $700,000 over. Please check your online banking account. A middle-aged man spoke to Wuxia in front of the goldfish fair after completing the fund transfer. Alright, I have received it. Wuxia revealed a smile on his face. After he noticed the crowd in front of him, he shouted loudly, there are 3 more top-grade redcap brown oranda selling for $350,000 each. No restock after these are sold. In addition, there's a top-grade chili red arowana selling for $3 million. Feel free to come and take a look. Give me one. After seeing someone else had purchased it, more people in the crowd were tempted, considering the fact that the price was cheaper than those in the goldfish fair by $80,000. At such a cheap price, they might even be able to earn several tens of thousands by flipping it. All right. Wuxia nodded his head with a smile. He immediately placed the redcap brown oranda into a fishbowl and handed it to that old man. With another $350,000 transferred into his account, Wuxia was getting a little agitated. He had $1.05 million in his account now. There are 2 more redcap brown oranda and a chili red arowana. Wuxia shouted towards the crowd that had grown to close to 100 people. At this very moment, Director Zhao, who was at the service counter for the organizing party, looked at the exhibition hall in doubt. Why are there so few people? Several middle-aged and old men at the side frowned slightly and seconded. Yeah, where did everybody go? Director Zhao, Director Lian, shouted an employee as he ran towards them. What's the matter? Why are you so flustered? Director Zhao looked at the young man, frowned and asked. Director Zhao, something bad has happened. There's a guy who set up a stall at the entrance selling redcap brown oranda at the price of $350,000 each. He has already sold a total of 3 fish. The young man replied anxiously. What? There's someone selling redcap brown oranda? At $350,000 each? Director Zhao looked at the young man with a face of disbelief. Yes, Director Zhao, $350,000 each. There are over 100 people who have gathered at that place currently. The young man nodded his head immediately. $350K each, and he has already sold 3. Director Zhao was a little displeased. He stood up immediately and headed out. When he was at the entrance, he saw a group of people crowding the entrance. I'll take the last 2 redcap brown oranda. At this moment, Director Zhao heard a guy beside him shout loudly. Excuse me, the middle-aged man said to the people in front of him as he tried to make his way forward. Director Zhao looked around and squeezed forward behind the man with displeasure. All right, these are the last 2 redcap brown oranda. After hearing the man, Wang Xian replied with a faint smile. Bank transfer. The middle-aged man said and nodded his head in satisfaction after walking forward and seeing the two red-cap brown oranda. All right. Wang Xian nodded his head. Director Zhao, who was following behind, felt embarrassed instantly. He took a glance at the two red-cap brown oranda and the styrofoam box at the side. His mouth started twitching uncontrollably. Damn it! Did he keep the goldfish that are worth several million in a styrofoam box? Playing dumb to take advantage of others. Director Zhao was clearly displeased. After this brat sold red-cap brown oranda at $350,000 each, it would be impossible for him to sell his red-cap brown oranda in the goldfish fair at $430,000. In fact, he might not be able to sell them even if he reduced the price to $350,000. Wang Xian noticed Director Zhao but didn't pay much attention to him. He continued, there's one last top-grade chili red arowana left. You can take it for just $3 million. This arowana is really beautiful but the price is too high. This top-grade chili red arowana is definitely worth $3 million. However, that's $3 million. Who could afford it? Yeah, it's too expensive. However, if I had the money I would definitely buy it. This chili red arowana is simply too beautiful. The surrounding crowd was discussing and commenting. An arowana that cost $3 million was indeed not easy to sell. Wang Xian heard the conversation of the people in the crowd and frowned slightly. Arowana that cost several million was indeed not so easy to sell. There weren't many people who could afford it. However, what made him the most disappointed was that there was no one who bought the chili red arowana. The crowd of customers simply left after admiring it for some time. Damn it! If I had known about it, I wouldn't have upgraded such an expensive arowana. Wang Xian looked at the time and it was already 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Yet, the arowana was still not sold. Although there was always a huge crowd looking at it, there weren't many who could have afforded it. Just like what they had commented, it was too expensive. Phew! Wang Xian waited all the way to 5 o'clock and hadn't even had his lunch. Forget it, I'm not selling it anymore. I have $1.75 million in my hands now and it should be sufficient. Wang Xian was a man who was easily contented. Although he couldn't sell this arowana, it didn't really affect his mood. After all, he had still been working hard for several hundreds of dollars a few days ago. After placing the arowana into the styrofoam box, Wang Xian rode his Harley towards the school. He put the arowana in his dormitory room and headed directly for the first-grade seafood restaurant. With more than $1.7 million in his account, he wouldn't be lacking money in the short term. Let's head to the ocean tomorrow and see if I can raise my own level. Wang Xian made the decision in his mind. Rivertown was a town that was beside the sea and in the vicinity of Bohai Sea. Bohai Sea was one of the 4 main seas in the country. At the same time, it was the only inland sea. The size of Bohai Sea was the smallest among the 4 seas. At the same time, it has the shallowest seabed. Just perfect for myself. The next morning, Wang Xian rode his heavy-duty motorcycle and headed towards the sea. He took a look at his attributes. Name Wang Xian. Race. Human, ability to transform into a dragon. Level 1. Dragon energy 25/1000. Superpower. Dominate the marine animals, ability to rule any marine animals that are lower than your own level. Devour any form of marine animals, for extraction of dragon energy. Art of cultivation. Divine dragon transformation. I'm still not powerful enough at the moment and can only move around in the shallows region of Bohai Sea. If I encounter marine animals like sharks, I'll probably be devoured by them. Luckily, sharks are few in the vicinity of the Bohai Sea. Wang Xian thought to himself and he soon arrived at the seaside. The areas of Rivertown along the sea had become tourist and vacation hotspots after the last few years of development. In this vicinity, the environment was great and it was a rather famous tourist beach. Wang Xian parked his heavy-duty motorcycle in a parking slot before heading to a rather deserted position. After ensuring that there wasn't anyone in the surrounding area, Wang Xian turned his vision to the sea in front of him. The sea was boundless and the waves came one after another. Looking at the sea, Wang Xian was suddenly filled with enthusiasm. Dragon coasting through the seas. Wang Xian removed his clothes and entered the sea gradually. The weather in August was extremely hot. The water didn't feel cold at all as he entered into the sea. Wang Xian was exhilarated. Leaping forward, he dived into the sea directly. Turn into a dragon. He was ebullient. Swish. Wriggling his tail slightly, Wang Xian turned into a divine dragon the size of a human's palm. While in the seas, his speed was really fast. In just a move, he was able to cover 4 to 5 meters. Haha, this is where I truly belong. Oh, the great seas, here I come. Wang Xian wiggled his tail excitedly as he swam towards the sea. Chapter 13. King of Ribbonfish. Little Yellow Croaker. Level 0. Extractable Dragon Energy 0.08. The golden body of the divine dragon was giving off an imposing and majestic demeanor despite it being only the size of a palm. After diving into the ocean, Wang Xian saw a little yellow croaker with his sharp eyes. With excitement on his face, he swam swiftly and opened his mouth to swallow the fish. The fish are too small over here. Given my strength, I can swallow fish that are of a few kilograms at once. Wang Xian was dissatisfied as he looked at the increment of 0.08 in his dragon energy. Currently, he could easily swallow up fish that weighed more than dozens of kilograms. As a divine dragon of level 1, his level of strength was equivalent to a human form of Wang Xian. Even though he was only as big as a palm, Wang Xian was fearless even if he came across fish that weighed more than dozens of kilograms. With a jerk, Wang Xian swam towards the bed of the sea. The Bohai Sea was not as deep at all, as the sun could shine directly on the seabed. Wang Xian could see small fish and prawns swimming freely over there. On the floor of the ocean, there were rocks with aquatic plants growing on them and various odd-looking moving marine life. The lake in the school was nothing compared to the marine animals in the sea. Wang Xian's eyes brightened up. He swam over swiftly while fixing his eyes on the rather massive mackerel in front of him. The mackerel was approximately 4 kilograms and half a meter long. Mackerel. Level 0. Extractable Dragon Energy 0.8. 0.8 Dragon Energy. Radiance flashed in Wang Xian's eyes as he dashed towards the mackerel. When he was about 5 meters away, the half-meter mackerel spotted Wang Xian, who was charging towards it. The mackerel was slightly stunned as it sensed the oppression of Wang Xian. Hurriedly it tried to flee. Can you escape? The mackerel shuddered and did not dare to swim away when Wang Xian emanated slight dragon power. He darted out and gulped the half-meter mackerel. That's too cool. Given my current dragon power, I can dominate the marine animals within 5 meters. It will cause great oppression for those who are beyond 5 meters too. Wang Xian rocked the body of the divine dragon and headed somewhere far again. Dominate. Dominate. Along the way, when he saw the various marine animals, he would swim over and dominate them. Pacific mackerel, Spanish mackerel, yellow drumfish, slender shadfish, herring and pomfret. The smaller ones were palm-sized, whereas the bigger fish were over a few kilograms. All of them were dominated by him. At the bottom he also spotted pairs of prawns. After swimming for 1,000 meters, thousands of fish types gathered within 5 meters around Wang Xian. If I can sell these as seafood, I'm sure they could fetch a few $100,000. Wang Xian observed the various marine animals around him. Among those, there were tiger prawns which were larger than a palm. If such prawns were to be sold, each one of them could sell for over $100. This is simply too wasteful. Wang Xian laughed out. To increase his strength, he could only gobble them up. Gulp! A golden divine dragon was gobbling up every single marine animal in the ocean frantically. Even a fish that was around a meter long was swallowed up by him. Haha, I added over 80 points of dragon energy. Indeed, gobbling up the marine animals is much faster for increasing energy. Wang Xian swished his dragon tail excitingly and realized his body was growing to about 20 centimeters longer now. The dragon scales turned exquisite, and the dragon claws were full of mightiness even though they were small. The 2 dragon beards looked dominating too. Wang Xian overturned his body and was satisfied with his boosted-up power. He moved and swam out far again. At this point he was 4,000 to 5,000 meters away from the shore. The nearby marine animals are still too little. I have to head farther out. With a jolt, Wang Xian swam out to a farther place. On the way, he dominated various types of marine animals and gobbled them up crazily. His dragon energy was also leveling up at an extremely fast speed. The water is much deeper ahead. Wang Xian realized the ocean ahead was about 13 to 14 meters deep after swimming for approximately 8 kilometers. The region was much deeper as compared to before. He noticed the entire region ahead was covered with greenish seaweed and multicolors reefs. There's a school of ribbonfish ahead. Just then, Wang Xian spotted a school of ribbonfish swimming ahead with approximately over thousands of ribbonfish closely packed together. Each of them was long in size, and among them, a few were 1 meter long. The ribbonfish are at level 0. I have nothing to fear. Wang Xian thought to himself. Ribbonfish was a type of ferocious fish. However, they did not dare to resist when confronted by the divine dragon. Wang Xian stared at the school of ribbonfish while swimming at high speed. Boom! He acted like an ancient divine dragon which had just descended into the ocean. When Wang Xian charged over, some of the ribbonfish was shuddering their long bodies in fear. Some of them rattled and tried to flee. Where are you going? Wang Xian was much faster than the ribbonfish in the water. He dashed into the school of ribbonfish like a golden flash of lightning. Dominate! As he emanated his dragon power, the ribbonfish within 5 meters looked at Wang Xian as though they were worshipping him. None of them dared to move a single inch. Wang Lian smiled and opened his mouth at one of the ribbonfish. Swoosh! After he swallowed the third ribbonfish, Wang Xian suddenly noticed a commotion in the ribbonfish around him as the ribbonfish on the left gradually gave way to form a path. What's this? Wang Xian's body shook as his eyes were full of solemnness. Wang Xian saw a huge ribbonfish swimming towards him, and he was somehow a little nervous about it. The ribbonfish had a long body of at least 2.5 meters long with approximately 30 centimeters at the broadest part of its body. The fins on its back looked sharp. King of Ribbonfish, Level 1. Extractable Dragon Energy, 88. Level 1. It's a Level 1 King of Ribbonfish. Wang Xian was looking wary all over his face. Ribbonfish are massive fish in the ocean. An average ribbonfish was less than a meter, but there were many large ribbonfish. A fishmonger was reported on the internet for catching a 2-meter ribbonfish, and the fish was known as the King of Ribbonfish. Apart from the King of Ribbonfish, there was another type of colossal ribbonfish known as the giant oarfish. The size of giant oarfish could hit more than a dozen meters. Luckily, this is not the 10 meters giant oarfish. It's just a King of Ribbonfish, but I shall not underestimate it since it is a level 1 fish. Wang Xian looked at the sharp teeth of the King of Ribbonfish. Given its size, he guessed he could swallow it too. The King of Ribbonfish fixed its eyes on Wang Xian as if it was observing some delicious food. Though it sensed the immense threat from the strange-looking being in front of it, it could evolve itself if it gobbled up the unknown creature. This was the instinct of a living being. I must gobble it up. Wang Xian moved his body cautiously as he looked at the King of Ribbonfish that was swimming towards him. Get ready to fight. Chapter 14 Giant Sea Clam. Swish! Amidst the boundless Bohai Sea, Wang Xian wiggled his tail forcefully. His attention was fully focused on the King of Ribbonfish right in front of him. The King of Ribbonfish had a huge head that was equivalent to the size of Wang Xian. It opened its mouth slightly and revealed the lingering flesh of a small octopus on its teeth as it stared at Wang Xian viciously and wriggled its huge body towards him. Preemptive strike. Wang Xian looked at the King of Ribbonfish. Wriggling his body, he shot out like a golden arrow at the King of Ribbonfish directly to attack it. Swish! The reaction of the King of Ribbonfish was a little beyond what Wang Xian had expected, and its combat prowess was no weaker than a human when it was in the water. Its sharp teeth headed towards Wang Xian directly. I can't attack it head-on. Wang Xian saw the huge teeth of the King of Ribbonfish. He extended his dragon claws and acted as though he was ready for a direct clash. TSSSS. Wang Xian seemed to have heard the roar of the king of ribbonfish. It opened its mouth widely and revealed rows of sharp teeth within it. A glimpse of craftiness flashed past Wang Xian's eyes. Just before they collided, he shifted his body and headed upwards while slashing his dragon claws towards the eyes of the king of ribbonfish. Wang Xian belonged to the nine-claws divine dragon breed, which was the supreme leader among the divine dragons. Although his claws were very small, they were extremely sharp. The 9 claws landed on the eyes of the king of ribbonfish directly. Just like a stone colliding with an egg, Wang Xian easily ruptured the eyes of the king of ribbonfish. The intelligence of marine animals can't be compared with me at all. Their attacks are very primitive and based on instincts. Seeing the king of ribbonfish wriggling its body violently, Wang Xian was pleasantly surprised. He dived towards it and bit onto the head of the king of ribbonfish directly with his sharp jaws. Crack, crack, crack. Boom! Wang Xian's jaws sank into the head of the king of ribbonfish, and it struggled violently by wagging its tail towards Wang Xian's body. Wang Xian extended his claws and slashed ruthlessly on the body of the king of ribbonfish. The sharp claws penetrated the body directly. Devour! The vitality of the blinded king of ribbonfish was getting weaker and weaker. Wang Xian opened his mouth and devoured the entire king of ribbonfish directly. A direct increase of 88 points of dragon energy. Wang Xian's eyes lit up as he felt his body getting substantially stronger once again. I'm a divine dragon coupled with the intelligence of a human. Slaying marine animals of the same level is an easy task. Even if I were to encounter level 2 marine animals, I wouldn't be wary. Wang Xian thought to himself. Looking at the ribbonfish that were scattering in all directions, he quickly gave chase. 1, 2, 3. Soon, he had devoured 700 to 800 ribbonfish. However, several hundred ribbonfish managed to escape too. Wang Xian wasn't too concerned about it. Wriggling his body, he looked at his surroundings. There were a lot of seaweed and corals in this area, and the sea resources in the vicinity were ample. It was especially so for octopuses, lobsters, sea cucumbers, jellyfish and swimming crabs. I'll definitely capture some lobsters and swimming crabs when I head back tonight. Looking at the lobsters and swimming crabs around him, he suddenly had a craving. If one would like to have some lobsters or swimming crabs, it would easily hit $600. If he was to head to first-grade seafood restaurant, it would probably cost $600 to $700 per person. Wang Xian licked his lips before continuing to devour marine animals in the vicinity at a frantic pace. There's a small island ahead. Wang Xian noticed an island when he looked ahead. However, the area of the island wasn't very big. He didn't pay much attention to it as he turned his attention towards a sea snake in front of him. Sea snake, level 1. Extractable dragon energy, 44. Sea snake. I'd better not mess with it. Wang Xian took a few more glances at that sea snake before taking a detour around it to capture other marine animals. Sea snakes had lethal poison. Even though they weren't as strong as the king of ribbonfish, they had lethal poison with them. If he was poisoned to death, it would be tragic. That's a sea turtle. Wang Xian noticed that a sea turtle that was approximately a meter long was swimming near the rocks below the island. Sea turtle, level 3. Extractable dragon energy, 988. The sea turtle is level 3. Wang Xian was rather shocked by that greenish sea turtle. A sea turtle was a rather docile marine animal, but one shouldn't underestimate the strength of a sea turtle. Although sea turtles don't have teeth, they have sharp edges inside their mouth that are sharper than teeth. These sharp edges could easily crush one's finger. Moreover, a sea turtle of the size of close to a meter would definitely be more vicious. In mythical legends, Dragon Palace would have a turtle as prime minister. When I upgrade marine animals in the future, I could also upgrade a turtle to be the prime minister. Sea turtle gave off the impression of intelligence and longevity. In Journey to the West, Prime Minister Turtle was 9,000 years old and would handle various kinds of matters of the Dragon Palace. Its role was similar to the Prime Minister in an ancient kingdom. Wang Xian had decided to get a strong Prime Minister Turtle for himself in the future. It's a shame that my level is still too low. If I wish to upgrade marine animals, I would have to at least wait till I have raised my level to level 3. Wang Xian thought to himself. In the divine dragon transformation, to upgrade marine animals would first involve manifesting the intelligence of marine animals before imparting upon them the cultivation arts. This would require a large amount of dragon energy and would at least be 1,000 points of dragon energy. Currently, Wang Xian only possessed an overall 400 points of dragon energy. I'm going to level up quickly and get my own subordinates. Wang Xian wiggled his body and devoured the marine animals around him rapidly. There's a large humphead wrasse ahead. At this moment he saw a fish that weighed approximately 100 jin. It was a humphead wrasse. Humphead wrasse. Level 1. Extractable dragon energy. 44. I can extract 44 points of dragon energy. Haha. Wang Xian got excited. Moving his body, he launched his attacks rapidly towards the humphead wrasse. The humphead wrasse sensed danger approaching and wiggled its tail to swim away. Do you think you can escape? A smile appeared on Wang Xian's face. He accelerated immediately and extended his dragon claws ahead. Although he wasn't big in size yet, he still emanated an aura of power and prestige. Hehe, there's no place for you to escape to anymore. The humphead wrasse that was close to a meter long escaped below the island. Wang Xian immediately accelerated. Crack! However, at this moment something shocked Wang Xian. When the humphead wrasse swam to a position beside the rocks, the rock-like object closed immediately and devoured the humphead wrasse that was almost 80 centimeters long. Astonishment was written all over Wang Xian's face. He immediately stopped and looked ahead. That is? Wang Xian got closer and noticed that the rock wasn't a real rock but the disguise of a type of living thing. That's a sea clam. How is it possible that there's such a big sea clam? Wang Zheng was shocked. It was a brownish-colored sea clam in the shape of a fan. The entire sea clam was extremely huge and spanned close to 2 meters. Looking at it, it looked simple and heavy. Sea clam. Level 6. Extractable dragon energy. 9,987. Its level is level 6. Moreover, I could extract close to 10,000 points of dragon energy from it. Wang Xian opened his eyes widely and stared fervently at that huge sea clam. Chapter 15 Clam Girl. Sea clams are a common creature in the ocean. Most people have eaten clams before. Average clams are about the size of a thumb while some bigger ones are about the size of a palm. In this world there was also a type of sea clams called the giant clam, also known as the man-eating clam. The biggest one was 1.8 meters. However, the sea clam before Wang Xian was definitely larger than what was recorded. Wang Xian could not help but feel stupefied as he looked at the enormous sea clam. Luckily, this sea clam is moving very slowly, so I don't have to be afraid of it. Besides, the sea clam will not be able to threaten me if I just stay behind it. Wang Xian stared at the sea clam as he made up his mind. If he could devour the sea clam, he could advance to level 3 with the dragon energy he extracted from it. Wang Xian hesitated before creeping behind the sea clam. The sea clam remained unmoved when Wang Xian closed in. Wang Xian was unsure if it was because it had just eaten, or was it trying to conceal itself, as it was not moving. Wang Shan got closer and grabbed the clamshell with his claw. Boom! Wang Xian sulked when the claw that was as strong as the metal did not leave any dents on the sea clam. It's too solid. Simply impenetrable. Wang Xian looked embarrassed. He tapped another 2 more times with his claws but discovered no traces on the clam. The sea clam did not have any reaction either. The shell is just too hard. I have no means to deal with it. Wang Xian was thinking hard as an idea flashed across his mind. Try it. Wang Xian hesitated. He looked around him before he said, transform into a human. Instantly, from a 20-centimeter golden divine dragon, Wang Xian returned to his human form. Wang Xian was naked in the sea and had no issue in the water that was more than 10 meters deep. He looked at the sea clam before him. With a stretch, he lifted and carried it. With his current strength, Wang Xian could at least carry 400 kilograms of weight. Hence, he was rather relaxed to carry a sea clam of 250 kilograms in the sea. The sea clam remained unmoved when it was being carried up. Wang Xiang was delighted as he carried it to the island beside the ocean. Wang Xian swam fast in the sea. After he surfaced from the water, he put the sea clam on the shore. Sensing no seawater around it, the sea clam opened its shell at this time. A clam flesh that was covered in sticky mucus wriggled out of the shell. The flesh stuck its body to the ground. It controlled its body and squirmed towards the ocean. Haha! Thinking of escaping? Where can you escape to? Wang Xian was looking thrilled. He immediately grabbed and pulled the clamshell back. Slap! Just then, a piece of clam meat slapped at his arm with fast and furious speed. The force was so powerful that Wang Xian let out a yelp. Gosh, that was painful. He touched his arm in a cold sweat and realized the arm was swelling up. The entire arm would have been broken if his physique was not strengthened by the dragon energy. Indeed, this is the level 6 sea clam. Even though it was not a fighter by nature, it could still hurt me. Wang Xian was surprised. However, don't ever think of escaping since you're thrown onto the shore. Wang Xian was feeling lucky that the sea clam did not notice what was happening when they were in the ocean. Otherwise, he would not be able to have carried it to the shore, given its mighty strength. Wang Xian spotted the sea clam as it exited hurriedly towards the sea. He quickly grabbed the clamshell and flung it towards the island. Subsequently, he took a few rocks on the side and hurled them at the flesh of the opened clamshell. Wang Xian possessed daunting strength now as each mighty rock he cast caused the flesh to huddle up. The clamshell quickly shut itself up. Don't kill me, please. Just then Wang Xian heard a unique voice which stunned him immediately. Who is talking? Wang Xian observed his surroundings with shock. But there was no one on the desolate island. No, it wasn't a human language spoken just now. Wang Xian thought of the voice. Immediately he cast his gaze upon the sea clam. Was it you? Wang Xian stared with his eyes wide open. All living beings with intelligence would have their own language just like the dolphins and killer whales. However, humans would not understand their language. Despite so, as a divine dragon, Wang Xian could understand any language of the marine animals. Let me go. Let me go. Another sound that was frail and weak was heard. The voice sounded like a little girl who had just learned how to talk. Are you a girl? No, are you a female clam? Wang Xian stared at the sea clam and asked. Please don't kill me. Let me go. The voice of the sea clam was heard again. But she was repeating those simple words like, don't kill me. Let me go. It must be that her intelligence is not high enough for her to master more sophisticated expressions. Wang Xian pondered and frowned. He never expected that this sea clam would have intelligence. Moreover, it was a female clam. Given my current ability, it will be difficult and troublesome to kill her off unless I wait for her to dry up. Let me go. Don't kill me. Once again, the tender and innocent voice resounded in his head again. Wang Xian hesitated. He was thinking, I don't have to kill her. I can make her my subordinate, the first member of the Dragon Palace. Wang Xian brightened up his eyes and stared at the sea clam. He was thinking of how a divine dragon could subdue the marine animals. With an idea, he slowly tempted the sea clam. Little sister, I will release you now if you swallow this thing. Upon seeing no reaction from the sea clam, he squeezed out a small amount of golden blood from his hand. It was the blood of divine dragon, and at the same time a form of commitment. Divine dragons dominated the marine animals not only with domineering strength, but also with the power of pact. After absorbing the blood of divine dragon, the other party would regard him as the king. Take this fresh blood, and I, as your brother, will release you. Wang Xian placed the drop of fresh blood of divine dragon on the sea clam and guided her patiently. Developed marine animals. Clam girl. At this time the system notification sounded off in his mind. The blood on the sea clam disappeared. Haha, it works. Wang Xian was excited. He quickly routed to the front of the clam girl. Brother, I like you. The clam girl opened her clamshell. Being a low-intelligent being, she did not understand what a king was. She only knew to obey his words when he wanted her to address him as brother. This was the power of pact. Haha, little sister. You must listen to me from now on. Wang Xian spoke delightedly. Gosh. However, the clam girl wrapped her flesh around Wang Xian's body at this time. Chapter 16 Pearl. Release me, release me. Wang Xian was trapped by the clam girl completely. The flesh of the clam was abnormally soft and gave off an aroma. She had completely wrapped around him, and he felt extremely comfortable throughout his body. The clam girl listened to his command and released him immediately. Wang Xian looked at his body covered in sticky goo. He couldn't control his mouth as it twitched slightly. What the? Wang Xian patted his own face and said, Let's get into the sea first. Let's get into the sea first. When he came to the seaside, he jumped into the sea directly. The clam girl followed closely behind him into the sea. Wang Xian looked at the clam girl beside him. With just a thought, he transformed into the appearance of a divine dragon immediately. Don't address me as the brother from now on. You shall call me the Dragon King. Wang Xian looked at the clam girl and found having a sea clam calling him brother extremely weird. Moreover, he didn't have a fad in other aspects. Yes, Dragon King. The voice of the clam girl was directed into his mind directly. Wang Xian nodded his head in approval. Looking at the clam girl, he was extremely satisfied. This was his first subordinate and her level was level 6. Although her attacking prowess was rather weak, her defense capability was insane. Upgrading marine animals, packs, and cultivate intelligence. Since the intelligence of Clam Girl has already been cultivated, I could save myself a lot of dragon energy. If I have to rely on dragon energy to upgrade, I can just forget about it. I don't have ample dragon energy, but I could impart upon her cultivation arts for her to cultivate on her own. Establishing the Dragon Palace and upgrading marine animals. If Wang Xian was sufficiently powerful, he could increase the strength of marine animals directly by using dragon energy. However, helping to raise their strength was just one aspect. The other aspect would be to let them cultivate on their own. There was cultivation art related to the water tribe within the divine dragon transformation. The so-called cultivation arts were, in fact, the cultivation arts of the dragon race. For the other marine animals, these cultivation arts could also be considered as leaping through the dragon's gate. There were many different types of cultivation arts to make the leap through the dragon gate, including the water dragon's cultivation arts, fire dragon's cultivation arts, frost dragon's cultivation arts, and other kinds of cultivation arts. Clam Girl is more suited for the cultivation arts of the water dragon. I can impart it to her directly. With just a thought, he imparted the cultivation art on Clam Girl immediately. This is cultivation art. You must definitely cultivate diligently from today onwards. Wang Xian spoke to the Clam Girl. When Clam Girl achieved mastery over the cultivation art, she would have a chance of transforming into human form. Moreover, by practicing the cultivation art of the water dragon, she wouldn't be weaker than ordinary water dragons when she grew up. Yes, Dragon King, answered the Clam Girl. Yeah. Wang Xian nodded his head. You shall practice in the vicinity of this island from here onward and be careful. Yes, replied the Clam Girl. She opened her clamshell and ejected the stone that Wang Xian had thrown in previously. What are those? Suddenly, Wang Xian saw several shiny objects within the body of the Clam Girl. These are pearls? Wang Xian's eyes lit up. He extended his hand over and retrieved the objects from the Clam Girl's body. There were over 10 crystal clear pearls. There were white, black, pink and golden pearls with each one of them perfectly round without any flaws. Each pearl was at least 20 millimeters in diameter and looked extremely beautiful. So beautiful. Such huge pearls. Wang Xian looked at the 16 pearls in his hand with awe. Such big and exquisite pearls would definitely be very valuable. Haha, it should be worth a lot of money. Pearls came from the body of sea clams and natural pearls had always been very valuable. Wang Xian held onto the 16 pearls and looked at the Clam Girl. These pearls, can you get more of these? Dragon King. These pearls are from the remains of what I consumed and are formed slowly over time. They would appear after a certain period of time. I don't like them and would just throw them all out. What? They appeared once in a certain period of time and were all thrown out by you? Wang Xian's mouth was twitching after hearing what she said. How long do they take to form? He immediately asked. I don't know, answered Clam Girl. Forget it. Clam Girl doesn't have a sense of time after all. Wang Xian shook his head helplessly before instructing her. If there are pearls in the future, you have to keep them. Yes, Dragon King. I'll check out how much these are worth after I get back. Wang Xian took a look at the pearls in his hand before putting them in the sea clam. You can cultivate here now. Wang Xian instructed the Clam Girl. After which, he looked around him. Currently, he would just need a further 400 more points of dragon energy to level up. Seeing that it was about noon, Wang Xian decided to make the best use of his time and attempt to raise his level to level 2 by night time. Wang Xian looked towards a sturgeon. Moving his body, he headed towards it and attacked it. Devour. Frantic devouring. Dragon energy was increasing at a terrifying pace. There's another school of ribbonfish right there. It was afternoon time. When Wang Xian swam out another 20 kilometers, he encountered another school of ribbonfish. This school of ribbonfish was 3 to 4 times larger than the school he encountered in the morning. 3 to 4,000 fish were swimming together, and it was a majestic scene to witness. If I devoured all of them, I would be close to level 2. When I'm at level 2, my strength will also be substantially greater. Wang Xian was getting excited. His vision was locked onto the school of ribbonfish as he dashed towards it directly. The current Wang Xian was approximately 30 centimeters, and was still relatively much smaller as compared to the ribbonfish. However, the aura that he was emitting was causing the ribbonfish to tremble in fear. Growl! A weak dragon roar erupted as Wang Xian started his devouring. Ribbonfish after ribbonfish was easily devoured and turned into dragon energy within Wang Xian. 3 to 4,000 ribbonfish were completely devoured by him in half an hour. These included 3 top-grade kings of ribbonfish. Despite facing against 3 of them at the same time, he still killed and devoured all 3 of the kings of ribbonfish. Name Wang Xian. Race. Human. Able to transform into a dragon. Level 1. Dragon energy. 997/1000. Superpower. Dominate the marine animals. Ability to rule any marine animals that are lower than your own level. Devour any form of marine animals, for extraction of dragon energy. Art of cultivation. Divine dragon transformation. 3 more points to make the breakthrough. Wang Xian got excited and swam to his left. All he had to do was to devour another 10 fish before his level could be raised to level 2. This is bad. That's a shark. Just as he swam a dozen meters ahead, he suddenly saw a shark swimming towards him. It must have been drawn here because of the bloody scent I caused when devouring the ribbonfish. Wang Xian had an idea while looking at the shark that was approximately 3 meters long. Horn shark. Level 4. Extractable dragon energy. 443. Run. I'm definitely not a match for it. After seeing the level of the horn shark, Wang Xian immediately escaped towards the sea at the side. That horn shark seemed to have seen Wang Xian as it immediately wiggled its tail and chased after Wang Xian. Oh damn! I'm already escaping and yet you have to chase me. When Wang Xian felt the horn shark heading towards him at high speed, he accelerated towards the seaside. Luckily, his speed was faster. When he reached the area with seaweed all around him, the horn shark lost him. I still couldn't get too far as I'm too weak currently. If I had encountered several vicious sharks, I'd be finished. Chapter 17. Advance to Level 2. Kakaka. In the Bohai Sea, Wang Xian swam beside the olive flounders and gobbled them up. Extracted 0. 1 dragon energy. Extracted 0. 3 dragon energy. 1000 dragon energy completed. Evolved to Divine Dragon Level 2. After Wang Xian devoured a few olive flounders, the system notification sounded off in his mind. Instantly, Wang Xian felt his tremendous power surging from his body. Kakaka. The bones throughout his whole body let out crisp sounds. The 40-centimeter dragon body grew longer to approximately a meter long. By now Wang Xian's entire body was giving off a golden glow. The tremendous power swirled in the seawater around him. I have advanced to level 2. Sensing the immense power from his body, Wang Xian could not hide his exhilarating expression. Every scale and bone in his entire body was greatly enhanced, in particular the claws. He was full of mighty explosive force. Roar! The sea water around him rippled as the dragon roared. I have become stronger by at least tenfold. Wang Xian felt the immense strength within his body. He clenched his claws and cast a glance to the boulder at the side. Ha! With a swing, Wang Xian shattered the sturdy boulder easily. I'm already so powerful even when I have not acquired the superpower. If I have enough dragon energy to cultivate my superpower, I'll grow even more formidable. The divine dragon was the same dragon when he just started to practice the divine dragon transformation. Superpowers were things like infernos, water current, frost, and skeletons. He could grow his claw longer with dragon energy, while superpower would be required for enhancing his body's flexibility, acquiring techniques like spurting out fire and water, and generating electricity. All these required dragon energy for upgrading. The current Wang Xian only possessed the physical body of a divine dragon, but its superpower. However, just the physical body was daunting enough. I'm just at level 2 now, and the power was incredibly strong even before I got to my first transformation. When I attain the 9 divine dragon transformations, does that mean I can roam the entire universe? Wang Xian was feeling passionate. He swam to the sea clam not far from him and reminded the clam girl to cultivate diligently before he headed back to the shore. The sky gradually turned dark. His speed was considered fast since he had advanced 1 level within a day. But it would require 10,000 points of dragon energy to advance to level 3. Subsequently, each level of advancement required 10 times the dragon energy. Level advancement at the early stages would be speedy, but it would get harder as it progressed to the later stages. After 2 levels of advancement, his speed was so fast that he could swim 15 meters per second. That was way faster than many types of fish. Dragon race were born rulers. Wang Xian swam to the shore. On his way, he caught some lobsters and swimming crabs, 2 lobsters that were about 1.5 kilograms each and 6 swimming crabs. Woo! Wang Xian put on his clothes after he was out of the sea. He grinned as he looked at the pearls, lobsters and the swimming crabs in his hands. After putting on his clothes, he headed up. Boom! Wang Xian took a gentle leap to the shore. As he did, he was off the ground by 4 meters. Ha! He picked up a stone from the ground and crushed it. I'm simply too powerful now. Wang Xian was excited. He found a bag to pack the lobsters and the swimming crabs into before he walked towards the entrance of a resort not far from him. For safety concerns, he parked his Harley motorcycle there. Vroom! Wang Xian rode on his motorcycle after placing the lobsters and the swimming crabs at a safe location. Soon after, he stepped on his accelerator and headed back to school. My reaction and eyesight have improved greatly after advancing to level 2. Wang Xian slightly narrowed his eyes as he glanced at the motorcycle that he was riding on. Based on the speed that he was riding now, it was a total waste for such a modified motorcycle. After millions of dollars worth of modifications, the speed of this heavy-duty motorcycle could reach a terrifying level. The maximum speed for this Harley was 397 kilometers per hour. To make a comparison, the maximum car speed of a Bugatti Veyron with a starting price of over 20 million was only 405 kilometers per hour. This modified Harley was freaking fast. The acceleration capability was faster than a sports car. Given the performance of this Harley, sports cars that were worth a few million were incomparable with this. Let's test out the speed of this heavy-duty motorcycle. Wang Xian was eager to try it out. In the past, the chance of endangering his life was high if he got into an accident with this motorcycle. Hence, he did not dare to drive too fast. But now Wang Xian's strength was greatly enhanced. Even if he traveled at 200 kilometers per hour, he could assure his own safety if there were any accidents. Besides, given his current speed of reaction, he would be quite safe. The region near the ocean was rather remote. Not many cars could be seen on the road. Wang Xian began to change gears and stepped hard on his accelerator. Vroom. The engine of the motorcycle exploded a loud and clear sound. The corner of Wang Xian's lips was slightly drawn when he looked at the speedometer. Within 5 seconds, the speed increased to 100 kilometers per hour and soon, it would hit 180. Speeding at 180 kilometers per hour was already scary as the trees on each side were moving behind at a daunting speed. Feels great. No wonder many people seek thrills from the ultimate speed to the extent that it costs their lives. This really feels good. With his helmet on, Wang Xian zoomed off on his motorcycle in his chirpy mood. Vroom. Just then, Wang Xian suddenly heard engines vrooming from behind. Shoot! A couple of sports cars passed by his motorcycle like phantoms. Their speed hit at least 200 kilometers per hour. Wang Xian was slightly stunned as he watched the sports cars overtaking him. Yet, he did not chase after them in spite of his pride. Wang Xian reduced his speed to around 70 kilometers per hour before making a turn ahead. When he made a turn, he saw 3 sports cars lining up in one straight and neat row. Looked like they were preparing for the new round of a competition. Wang Xian's presence immediately drew the attention from the 3 sports cars, a Ferrari, a Lamborghini Aventador, and a Maserati. Hey uncle, let's race. A young girl came out from the Maserati car. She slightly raised her chin and looked at Wang Xian in a provocative way. Yes bro. Your driving skills seem to be good. Let's have some fun. After the young girl, the window was wound down on the Ferrari as someone called out at him. Yes bro, come. The window of the Lamborghini rolled down as well while the driver called out to him. No, it's okay. Wang Xian shook his head as he was in no mood for car racing against these kids born with a silver spoon in their mouth. You chicken. Whoever loses calls me mom. Hurry up. Don't be a coward. The young lady who spoke to Wang Xian first pointed out a middle finger and jeered at him. Xiao Wan, what nonsense are you spouting at such a young age? Drive slowly. Who says you can race? A pretty girl sitting beside the young lady glared at her. Heh. The young lady stuck her tongue out and beckoned to Wang Xian. Don't be such a pussy and fight like a man. Chapter 18, Call Me Daddy. BZZ. The young girl controlled her sports car and made a skilled drift movement that stopped the car right beside Wang Xian's heavy-duty motorcycle. She lifted her head in a taunting manner as she glanced at the heavy-duty motorcycle below him. Don't they call those who ride heavy-duty motorcycles knights? Come on, Uncle Knight. As the young girl spoke, she stepped on the accelerator and revved the engine. Wang Xian looked at the young girl, feeling speechless. He revved his engine too as a reply. Come on. If you lose, you're going to call me Mom. The young girl laughed in a loud and boisterous manner before moving her car beside the other 2 sports cars, forming a neat row. Wang Xian's lips arched up slightly as he moved his heavy-duty motorcycle beside the 3 vehicles and lined up in a row. Vroom vroom vroom. The sports cars revved their engines and Wang Xian followed by throttling his engine. 3, 2, 1. Start. The young girl shouted loudly. 3 sports car burst out in a straight line. Wang Xian kept a brief smile but wasn't inferior at all. The performance of his heavy-duty motorcycle was much better than those sports cars. As the race started, the advantage of the heavy-duty motorcycle was translated to a huge lead. Wang Xian increased the speed of his car to approximately 180 kilometers per hour. BZZ. However, those 3 sports cars all cost no less than $3 million. Their performances were still very outstanding. Moreover, the 3 of them increased their speed greatly to at least 230 kilometers per hour or even higher. Wang Xian frowned. He glanced at the Maserati beside him and saw a young girl showing a derogatory hand signal at him. If you want to play, I'll play. Wang Xian lowered his body slightly. When riding a heavy-duty motorcycle, one would typically lower his body and lean on the motorcycle when one was moving at extreme speed. This was to reduce air resistance and also to gain better control. The moment I lowered my head, you guys lose. Wang Xian was smiling in his helmet as he throttled the accelerator to the maximum. The needle of the speedometer was increasing at a frantic pace. 200, 210, 220. In just a short span of 10 seconds, He had increased the speed to 280 kilometers per hour. Bzzz. A thunderous sound erupted from the Harley heavy-duty motorcycle. Wang Xian lowered his head and overtook the 3 sports cars rapidly and accelerated away at an even greater speed. Oh damn, he's fast. Mommy's coming for you. Within the Maserati, the young girl stepped on the accelerator fully in anger, as she saw Wang Xian's figure disappearing at a fast pace. Xiaowan, you are a crazy brat. Lower the speed immediately, the beautiful girl sitting in the car said with a pale face. Sister Lingling, don't be afraid. Just look at how I'm going to overtake him. The young girl didn't pay attention to her, as she stared at the heavy-duty motorcycle in front of her. Trying to compete with me? Little brat. Seeing that he was almost at the road juncture, a faint smile appeared on his face. Huh, this is bad. At this moment, Wang Xian saw a large truck turning in from the road juncture. His expression changed slightly. He immediately pressed the brakes as he focused all his attention attentively on the large truck while being ready to jump off the ride at any time. Screech. The bike isn't stopping in time. Wang Xian held his breath, squinted his eyes slightly and saw a 2-meter opening on his left. TSSSSSSSS. Wang Xian got through the opening and avoided the largest by the slimmest margin before stopping. Phew! Bang bang bang. Just as he heaved a sigh of relief, he heard 3 collisions. Wang Xian's expression changed slightly. He stopped his heavy-duty motorcycle immediately and looked ahead. 3 sports cars had all collided with the large truck. Oh damn. Please don't tell me anyone's dead. Wang Xian frowned and ran towards the 3 sports cars immediately. There were a total of 6 people sitting in the 3 sports cars. Among them, the Maserati, which was at the forefront, had the worst collision. On the other hand, the collision of the Lamborghini and Ferrari weren't that serious. Nonetheless, the strong impact from the collision knocked everyone in the vehicles unconscious. Wang Xian immediately ran to the Maserati at the front position. The front of the Maserati had been turned into complete scrap. The airbags of the car had popped open, but the young girl and the beautiful girl in the car were lying there and not moving at all. The Maserati was driving the fastest. The large truck turned all of a sudden and they couldn't stop their car in time. Seeing that the car door was damaged from the collision, he reached out and tried to pull the door open. Crack crack. Wang Xian's strength ripped the car door apart directly. He saw the beautiful girl on the seat beside the driver and carried her out carefully. Huh, the legs of the young girl are almost deformed. Wang Xian looked at the young girl in the driver's seat. Her legs were hit by the metal plate in front of her seat and had been deformed. She probably had a few fractures. He immediately carried her out carefully. I shall call the police first. After placing the 2 girls on the floor, Wang Xian immediately called for the police and ambulance. After which, he ran to the other 2 sports cars. The people inside the other 2 sports cars didn't seem to have suffered serious injuries. Therefore, he didn't attempt to move them rashly. So painful, so painful. At this moment, Wang Xian heard a weak wail. He immediately walked over and saw the young girl wailing in pain with tears in her eyes. Wang Xian frowned at the sight of the girl's completely deformed legs. Save me, save me. I don't want to die. The young girl looked at Wang Xian and begged. She was no longer the same as the naughty girl from before. Wang Xian had a heavy look. Let's see if dragon energy could be used to treat them. With just a thought, he placed his hand on the legs of the girl, regulated his dragon energy into the legs of the young girl and nourished her injuries. As the dragon energy entered her legs, he could sense the internal situation of the legs of the young girl. Bone fractures that will require adjustment. He hesitated for a while before holding the right leg of the young girl. This brat has a rather good figure. Wang Xian couldn't help but compliment in his heart after he looked at the girl's long legs and her well-endowed chest while adjusting the bones of her legs slightly. It's indeed effective. Under the nourishment of dragon energy, the injuries on her legs should be able to recover quickly. However, I have just advanced to level 2. And don't have additional dragon energy left remaining in my body. Therefore, I can only use this method to nourish. Wang Xian thought to himself. It hurts. It hurts. The young girl wailed softly as tears streamed down constantly. Little brat. If it wasn't for me, your legs would be crippled. How dare you to have asked me to call you mum before? Wang Xian looked at the young girl and raised his eyebrows. He wore a cunning smile on his face and continued, your injuries are serious and I can save you now. Save me, save me. The young girl shouted in pain without consciousness. I can save you, but you have to call me daddy. Otherwise, I won't save you. Wang Xian said to the young girl while staring at her teasingly. Save me? What? When the young girl heard his words, she immediately broke down and cried out loud. Call me daddy. Wang Xian pinched her leg and the girl shuddered. Daddy? Wah. Daddy save me. Wah. Hee hee. Chapter 19. A highly skilled doctor. Never did I expect the dragon energy to have such an effect. If I have sufficient dragon energy, I can inject it into her body, and her legs would recover immediately. Wang Xian thought to himself as he looked at the young lady who was in a coma after he had fixed her leg. Subsequently, he came to the pretty girl and examined her condition with the dragon energy. Her chest has some blood clotting due to the impact of the hit. Wang Xian took a look at her injuries and proceeded to nourish her with his dragon energy. Soon after, he came to check on the rest of the 4 people in the other 2 sports cars. Apart from the juvenile with a broken rib bone which had been fixed by Wang Xian with his dragon energy, the rest were only suffering from light injuries. The young lady and the juvenile with his broken rib bone were the 2 most serious cases. Just then, the traffic police and the ambulance arrived, and Wang Xian heaved a sigh of relief. 3 luxurious sports cars got into an accident. The traffic police officers who rushed here sped up their pace as they came over. Young chap, were you the one who called the police? A middle-aged traffic police officer asked this immediately when he saw Wang Xian. Wang nodded, yes, it was me. I examined those people, and there shouldn't be anything serious. Chief, look at these sports cars. That car plate of the Maserati seemed like the one that was just applied by the granddaughter of old Shui. The young man who was following behind the middle-aged officer spoke softly to him. The middle-aged officer looked at the car plate, 2333, and frowned immediately. Yes, it's the granddaughter of old Shui. The rest of them must not be ordinary people either. Go check on them. The middle-aged officer ran to Wang Xian and took a look at the young girl and the pretty girl. She's the granddaughter of old Shui. Cold sweat broke on his forehead. Please, nothing must happen to her. Nothing. He spotted the ambulance nearby and screamed at the top of his lungs, paramedics over here. Hurry. A few paramedics brought the stretcher and sprinted over immediately. Hang on, let me examine her first, said a doctor to the 2 nurses who were walking by the side. She squatted down and began to examine the injuries of the young lady. Her leg was injured, but it was almost healed by me. She just needs some time to fully recover. The pretty girl beside her had some blood clotted at her chest area. I have taken care of it, and it shouldn't pose any serious problems. On top of that, the young driver of the Ferrari had a broken rib, which I also took care of. Just be careful when you guys move them. The doctor who was doing the examination was slightly stunned. She lifted her chin to look at Wang Xian with astonishment. Wang Xian too looked back at the doctor and could not help but feel slightly surprised. Where did all the pretty ladies come from? This doctor was in her late 20s. Her white robe was propped up and could not hide her busty figure. Her face was fair and refined. She looked like a goddess as her hair was worn up in a bun. The doctor reached out to touch the legs of the young girl, and a shocked expression gradually surfaced on her face. She did notice some problems with the young girl's legs. Be careful. Bring her up to the ambulance without moving her legs. Yes, Dr. Sunday. The 2 nurses nodded immediately. Have you practiced medicine before? Dr. Sun stood up and asked curiously. Just a little. You should do a recheck to be certain. Wang Xian chuckled. He knew nothing about medicine. All he did was treat the patients with dragon energy. Dr. Sun did not ask much as she began to examine the rest of the casualties. She lifted the clothes at the chest area of the pretty lady and examined her injuries. Once again she was shocked. She was injured at her chest area. Avoid touching it. Subsequently, she came to the other sports car and began her examination. It was the rib. That young man is really superb. Dr. Sun examined everyone and was stunned by the outcomes. Given such a situation, she would have taken a long time to examine the injuries if not for the young man who had reported to her on their conditions. Okay, I'm off now, said Wang Xian to the traffic police officers and the doctor. Seeing that all the casualties were moved into the ambulance from the sports cars, Wang Xian checked on the time, and it was almost 7 o'clock. Young chap, please leave your contact number so that we can contact you when necessary, said the middle-aged traffic police officer. Sure. Wang Xian nodded and left his contact number. Dr. Sun gave him a significant look before she got onto the ambulance. A car race almost got someone killed. Wang Xian shook his head and walked to the side. He rode on his motorcycle and headed back to school. Chief, that young man rides a Harley motorcycle. His family must be quite well off. The young police officer gazed at Wang Xian's back view as he left. Let's ignore the rest for now. We need to check on the situation in the hospital. Let's hope the granddaughter of old Shui and the rest of the young fellows will be fine. Those guys' family backgrounds were not ordinary either, said the middle-aged officer. The big car was on the wrong side of the road, and those sports cars were driving too fast. Hence the car accident. The car owner of that truck will be in deep shit soon. At this time, Dr. Sun was examining both legs of the young lady with a piece of equipment in the ambulance. Her expression was aghast. How could this be possible? Both her legs were obviously fractured. Yet, they were fixed by some formidable treating skill. Could that young man be a skillful practitioner? By now, Wang Xian had reached the school entrance on his motorcycle. He cast a glance at the lobsters and swimming crabs on the car before he came to a convenience store as he rubbed his hands. After purchasing some sauces, he came back to his dormitory immediately. I'll put the pearls somewhere first, then do some cooking outdoors. Wang Xian grinned. Outdoor barbecue was one of the highlights of the University of Rivertown. At the eastern hill of the university lay a perfect spot for outdoor barbecue. The holes were already dug. Just bringing along pots, wood and fire would do. The glutton Wang Dehai had all the necessary tools for outdoor cooking. Wang Xian took the pot and fetched some water. He carried all his ingredients and headed for the eastern hill. The eastern hill was a hillock located at the side of the pavilion lake. Setting up fire was extremely safe as there were neither trees nor grass. The sky gradually darkened as Wang Xian carried his things to the eastern hill. Buzz! Just then his phone suddenly rang. He took a look and found it was Guan Shuqing. I have yet to thank you for what happened a few days ago. Have you taken your dinner? I would like to treat you as a token of appreciation. Wang Xian looked at the WeChat message that Guan Shuqing had sent. He was slightly taken aback, but he quickly replied, "It's okay, thank you." Guan Shuqing was slightly stunned by Wang Xian's reply. Since she was young, no one had ever turned her down. He was the first one to do so. At first, like any other guys, she thought Wang Xian would send her chatting messages after adding her on WeChat. But he did not. Now, she was once again rejected after initiating a dinner with him. She could not help but feel her face and doubt her charm. Chapter 20. Cooking Outdoors. Guan Shuqing felt a little disappointed and wasn't willing to just give up. You did help me out greatly after all. I definitely owe you a treat. Guan Shuqing held onto her phone and sent the message. This man is really different from others. Or maybe he's gay. That's the only explanation Guan Shuqing could come up with. Wang Xian was boiling water and cleaning off the ashes of the firewood from before when he heard his phone ring. He saw Guan Shuqing's reply before looking over at the swimming crabs and large lobsters in the pot. Since I can't finish all these by myself, why don't I just ask if she would like to come over? Wang Xian wasn't thinking too deeply into this matter and sent the message, I'm cooking outdoors on the eastern hill. If you haven't eaten, why don't you just come over to the eastern hill? After sending the message out, Wang Xian started cleaning the area once again. He washed the bowls and chopsticks and started a fire. When Guan Shuqing received this message while she was in the dormitory room, she frowned slightly. Cooking outdoors. Should I go? It's getting a little dark. Will he? He probably wouldn't, as he isn't such a guy. Moreover, although it is summer holiday, there's still security patrolling the area. Guan Shuqing made up her mind to go. She stood up and put on some light makeup before heading towards the eastern hill. When she arrived at the eastern hill, she saw a figure standing by the flames. Just him alone. Guan Shuqing looked over as she walked. Wang Xian. Huh, if it isn't our great beauty Guan Shuqing? Wang Xian lifted his head, looked over and saw Guan Shuqing switching on the flashlight of her mobile phone. I take that you're in a good mood, cooking outdoors so late. Guan Shuqing walked over and saw Wang Xian preparing the sauce. She was shocked and asked, Wang Xian, what delicious dishes are you making? Seafood. I caught them from the sea today. Wang Xian lifted his head and looked at her. Guan Shuqing was still as beautiful as always today. Guan Shuqing was a well-known goddess of the University of Rivertown, and it was pretty good to be able to have a meal with such a beautiful lady. Of course, on the condition that they get along. Wow, seafood. It seems like I'll be in for a treat today. Guan Shuqing squatted down. She looked at the covered pot first before turning her attention to Wang Xian. Under the illumination of the flame, he had a very unique aura. Appearance-wise, Wang Xian was definitely a handsome guy. Guan Shuqing found a rock and sat down on it. It should be me who is supposed to give you a treat, and yet you are the one who invited me to have seafood. Why don't I give you a treat tomorrow night? What do you think about that? Sure. Wang Xian looked at her and continued. It will be my honor to be given a treat from the goddess of Rivertown. Why don't I feel that way? You still said that it wasn't necessary just a while ago. Guan Shuqing gave him an angry stare. Wang Xian laughed. That's because I feel that I didn't really help you out. It was just a little thing after all. What you did isn't just a little thing, replied Guan Shuqing as she shook her head. All right, the food is cooked. Let's get started quickly. I'll get the sauce ready for you. Wang Xian opened the lid to the pot and passed over a bowl of sauce that he had prepared previously to Guan Shuqing. Wow, lobsters and crabs. Guan Shuqing was shocked when she saw 2 large lobsters and swimming crabs, each seemingly weighing 2 to 3 jin in the pot. Wang Xian smiled. Yeah, they were all caught from the sea. As Wang Xian spoke, he scooped out a large lobster from the pot, after which he deshelled the head, grabbed the tail and passed it to Guan Shuqing. Take it. We can each have 1 large lobster. If you hadn't come, I might not have been able to finish them all by myself. Thank you, thank you. Guan Shuqing took it joyously. Be careful, it's hot. Yeah. Guan Shuqing took over a large lobster that was even bigger than her palm and gently removed the shell. It smells so good, exclaimed Guan Shuqing happily. The taste is pretty good. Wang Xian dipped it into the sauces he'd prepared. It was extremely satisfying to have wild large lobsters together with the tasty sauces. I didn't expect I'd be so lucky to be in for such a sumptuous dinner. Guan Shuqing looked at Wang Xian and spoke with a face of smiles. I've brought 2 bottles of alcohol with me. Do you want some? Wang Xian asked, taking out the beer Wang Dehai had placed in the dormitory. Lobsters with beer. Give me a bottle then. However, I won't be able to finish it. Guan Shuqing extended her hand and replied with a smile. It's all right. Pass it to me if you can't finish it. Wang Xian helped her open the bottle before passing it to her. Wow, this is simply too satisfying. Guan Shuqing sipped a mouthful before enjoying her lobster flesh. Have some swimming crabs too. I caught them from the sea and they are really fresh. Wang Xian scooped out a swimming crab and deshelled it like a gentleman before passing it over to her. Wang Xian, you're so sweet. And the sauces you prepared are really delicious. This is fantastic. I'm sure you have a girlfriend, right? Guan Shuqing looked at him and asked in a probing manner. Wang Xian's body stiffened up. He recalled the girl that chose to go with the other guy. Although she wasn't very pretty, her quiet and cute look was what he was really fond of. Sigh. He heaved a long sigh. A materialistic girl like that wasn't worthy for him to think about any further. nor was she worthy of his love. What's the matter? Guan Shuqing saw his sudden change and asked curiously. I'm fine. I don't have a girlfriend. Or rather, in my case it ended before it even started. Wang Xian laughed in a self-deprecating manner before drinking a mouthful of beer. Guan Shuqing was slightly stunned. You are such a great guy. I'm sure you would be able to find a really beautiful girlfriend. Perhaps. Wang Xian smiled and nodded his head. However, I'm focusing on improving myself and earning a lot more money for now. My sister will be attending this school soon. I've got to let her live her university life like a princess. Guan Shuqing saw his determined look and couldn't help but feel a little envious. I'm really envious of your sister to have such a good brother. Your relationship with your sister must be really good. We only have each other after all. My sister is really adorable and sensible, laughed Wang Xian. Only have each other? When Guan Shuqing heard these words, she recalled what she'd heard from what her good friend had gathered. Could it be that he truly only has a sister? His parents aren't around anymore. Guan Shuqing thought of her own parents suddenly. Although her father's company encountered a huge crisis this year and declared bankrupt, she still had her parents with her after all. Everything will be fine. A guy like you will definitely be very blessed in the future. Guan Shuqing looked at Wang Xian and remarked. There aren't any sad things that wouldn't pass. My father's company was declared bankrupt this year, and this had a huge impact on my way of living. However, I still feel that as long as I work hard, everything will become better. Wang Xian looked at Guan Shuqing, who was at his side, with a little surprise. Who would have expected this girl to still be able to maintain such a way of thinking? What are you looking at? Cheers. Guan Shuqing noticed Wang Xian was looking at her. She lifted her head slightly, lifted her bottle of beer and replied. It will be better, Guan Shuqing. Wang Xian lifted his beer, smiled and added, if you have any difficulties in the future, feel free to come and look for me. I might be able to help you resolve them. Why aren't you calling me the great beauty, Guan Shuqing? Haha. Aren't we friends? Why are you treating me as friends right now? I felt like a stranger to you just moments ago. Chapter 21. Wise men do not cut someone down to size. Guan Shuqing was a knowledgeable and cheerful girl who was born into an affluent family. She possessed a wealthy demeanor, but she did not have the usual arrogance and snobbish attitude that a rich girl would possess. Even though her family was bankrupt, she was not discouraged at all. Instead, she worked part-time during her summer break. Wang Xian was impressed by such a girl. She enjoyed her good life, but at the same time she could take hardship. Thank you for your dinner. This is the most delightful meal I've had recently. Guan Shuqing looked at the guy who sent her back to her dormitory. He was the first guy who ever did so. Wang Xian grinned at her. I guess I will be having seafood for all my meals for a while. If I do, I'll tell you in advance. Right, it's a deal. Guan Shuqing stood in front of him with a sweet-looking smile on her face. Okay, bye. I'm going back to take a rest. Bye. Guan Shuqing watched as the guy departed with a beam. The smile was extremely sweet-looking. Guan Shuqing is a pretty girl with a good personality. After departing, Wang Xian was thinking to himself too. It was impossible for a man not to fall for beauties. I better increase my strength first. I must hit level 4 before school reopens. Wang Xian told this to himself. He went back to his room and took a bath. Then, he took out his pearls and examined them. After that, he sat in a lotus position to begin his cultivation. Dragon energy increased by 45 points. When Wang Xian woke up and saw the notification the next morning, sharp radiance flashed in his eyes. Since he'd advanced to level 2, his cultivation speed was 2 times faster than before. Wang Xian picked up the pearls beside him and headed out after washing up. He rode to the city center and began his search for jewelry stores. Pearls could only be sold to jewelry stores. Otherwise, he really had no idea who would acquire his pearls. Deep sea jewelry. As Wang Xian arrived at the city center, he spotted a jewelry accessories store with luxurious decors. Deep sea. Wang Xian looked at the name of the shop. He'd heard of this name before. a locally listed company with a renowned branding. Such a well-established company should offer reasonable pricing. Wang Xian secretly pondered. While he was having his breakfast that morning, he also surveyed the value for his pearls. The natural and flawless pearls of 20 millimeters that he had could fetch tremendous pricing. Every pearl could sell at a few $100,000 or even higher. Welcome. Upon entering the store, the greeter who was wearing a cheongsam greeted him at the door. Wang Xian entered and began to browse the pieces of jewelry within the cabinets. Their pieces of jewelry consisted of pearls and jade, excluding the gold jewelry. All the pieces of jewelry were extremely pricey. Wang Xian observed all the accessories. A pair of earrings cost a few thousand, while some of the valuable pieces of jewelry were sold at a few $100,000 onwards. "Sir, are you looking for anything?" asked a salesgirl looking at him. "I'm looking for pearl jewelry." He grinned as he said, "They are over here. We have pearl necklaces, pendants, and bracelets." The salesgirl pointed to a spot and said. Wang Xian moved over and checked it out. "This pearl and jade necklace is expensive." Wang Xian spotted one at the center that cost $180,000. These are natural pearls from the South China Sea with a size of 16 millimeters. The colors are mellow, and they are the top-rated pearls. $180,000 is not expensive at all. "Miss, can I take a look at that necklace?" Before the salesgirl could finish talking, someone at the side spoke. Wang Xian turned over and saw a middle-aged man with a beautiful girl. The middle-aged man was talking to them. "Sure." The salesgirl smiled at him. She wore a pair of gloves before taking out the necklace and handed it over to the man. "Here, Wenwen. Put it on. I'm sure you'll look gorgeous in it." The man took over the necklace and spoke to the beautiful girl who looked 10 years younger than him. "Wow, this is lovely." The girl gazed at the necklace the man was holding with her eyes brightened up. "Try it. If it's nice, we'll buy it," said the middle-aged man with a face full of smiles. To woo the beautiful girl before him, he was ready to throw in his money. "Okay, I'll do it myself, uncle." The beautiful girl nodded. "Sure." He was so happy that he kept nodding his head. As the girl was putting on the necklace, the man turned to look at Wang Xian again. He observed Wang Xian's dressing from head to toe. With his lips slightly drawn, he asked, "Young chap, are you buying jewelry for your girlfriend?" Just looking around, Wang Xian peered at the man and nodded. He then turned to look at the necklace that the girl was holding. Wang Xian looked at the pearl necklace and smiled. Regardless of the size or color, the pearls on the necklace were not as good as what he had. In fact, they were far more inferior quality. "Young chap, what is your budget for the jewelry? Young people like you should not be too far-fetched. Buying one that is around 1 to 2,000 will do. You should buy according to what you can afford. When you have the money, you can get something more expensive. When I was your age, I was equally poor. But if you work hard in the future and earn big bucks, you can also pursue those expensive items that are over hundreds of thousands of dollars." The middle-aged man spoke while looking at the beautiful girl and Wang Xian. Even though it sounded like a reminder from a senior, he was conveying an implicit message to the girl. "Young people are poor, and I'm rich." The beautiful girl put on the necklace and peered at Wang Xian before she finally fixed her eyes on the middle-aged man. "Does it look beautiful on me?" "Of course you look extremely gorgeous with it. Wenwen, this type of pearl and jade necklace suits you the most. Those that are worth a few $1,000s don't match you at all." The man quickly praised her. "Really?" The beautiful girl was so happy that she could not stop looking at herself in the mirror. "I'm sure. Wenwen, look at how beautiful you are when you are wearing it. Your friends will envy you when they see this," said the man. Suddenly he turned to Wang Xian and asked, "Young chap, don't you think it's beautiful too?" "Yes, it is." Wang Xian nodded in agreement. "Haha, see. Young chap, you don't have to envy me. Work hard and earn more money in the future. Till then, you can also get one for your girlfriend." The middle-aged man patted Wang Xian on his shoulder. "It's a pity that this necklace is the best among all. If there were better ones, I'd buy them for you, Wenwen." "Uncle, you're so nice to me." Wenwen looked at him. "Haha, of course I'm nice to you. Even though I'm slightly old, no young chaps can be comparable to me," said the middle-aged man confidently. Ahem, uncle, I have better pearls over here. I wonder if you have any interest in them. Wang Xian pursed his lips and said. He looked at the man who was diligently guiding and teaching him. In actual fact, the man was trying to bring himself up. This man was a sly fox. He put in good words for himself by stepping on others without being too obvious. Wise men do not cut someone down to size. This fellow not only stepped on others, but he was also stepping on Wang Xian to prove himself.